What's up, everybody? Welcome to Jedi Jive Live number 11. 11 weeks in a row. Super proud of us for going this far. We had the finale of Falcon and Winter Soldier this week. Quite the finale. Tons to talk about. We got Jenny. Everybody knows Jenny. The illustrious Jenny. She's here. And we've also got all the boys from All New Nerds. John, Dylan, and newcomer Levi. Lots to talk about. We can't wait to chat with you guys. Stick around. We'll be going live in a minute. All right, guys, we're ready to go live. Say hello to our guests. Everybody, say something. Let us know in the chat. You can hear everybody before we get going.
Oh, yeah.
I'm getting levels.
Yeah.
5 points to Gryffindor, whoever can name this character.
Johnny just wants someone.
He wanted so bad.
Please, someone.
He wanted so bad.
It's a desperate plea for validation.
Wait, what character was that? Was that a Clone Wars?
Yeah.
Wow, Mike,
Yeah, when they're in the desert, right?
No points to Mike.
Wait, I can't name the character, right?
We were
It's
just
during the
talking
droid
about
arc,
it.
right? The droid
Yeah, I'll
arc.
give
When,
you a hint. It's
Mm.
Steven Stanton is the voice.
is that during like the Gregor arc in the
Yes.
desert?
It is.
Yeah.
It
Okay.
is.
See.
Yeah, all right, so
All right.
at least you know
I
it.
got
I
it.
appreciate
I got
that.
it.
All right. That's fair. I like
All right,
Look,
guys.
David
Glad you know it.
Yao in the chat. Mibra Gascon. He
Let's
got
go!
it.
Hey.
My man,
5 points to you, my
Boo.
friend. I tried to do it
Good
last
job,
week and
Mibra.
nobody got it. But all right, anyways.
Okay.
Falcon and Winter
I
Soldier.
did
Go
it.
You
ahead.
know, we can actually, you guys,
win.
if we want to talk tons of Star Wars, we can do that at the end. And there's tons of Star Wars stuff to talk about if we want
Yeah.
to. At the end, I know there's some good Bad Batch stuff if we want to touch on it.
And how about Captain America and the Winter
yeah.
Soldier? Let's go.
Yeah.
For now, yeah.
Captain
dude,
America
Cap-
4.
Yes.
So are we assuming that like they're just like, because we've already had Captain America and the Winter Soldier as a movie, like they're not going to name a second movie that,
Well,
are they?
technically it's called Captain America, the Winter Soldier. Maybe
Oh.
it's called Captain
And
America
the Winter
and
Soldier.
And the Winter Soldier.
That'd be
Mm.
confusing, but I thought about it. I was like,
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah.
'Cause
Well, they
Bucky's
did it
gotta
with
be
the
in it,
little
right?
title card at the end. The
Yeah.
little title card right at the end of the show changed it. And I guess they're still calling him the Winter Soldier for now. I'd like to see
Yeah,
Captain America
interesting.
I
and the
know, we
White
were
Wolf.
thinking about the White Wolf.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff on
Io
Twitter,
name
people.
dropped White Wolf, kind of jokingly. She was like, okay, White Wolf. But
Right.
I would like to see Captain America and the White Wolf.
I mean, Bucky's got to
Right.
be in the fourth movie, right? He has to be in it.
Oh, yeah.
It's a
I
full
think so,
side
yeah.
character.
Yes.
But like
for sure.
I don't know, the Winter Soldier is kind of a thing in the past now. I feel like he's definitely finally making the proper strides to move past it.
Yeah,
by
I
the
was
end of
a
Yeah,
little
this.
he's-
shocked that there wasn't a name change, to be completely honest, because I feel like
I was a little surprised too
kind of-
because Cap got his and they
Yeah.
made such a point of
Well,
it.
no,
but-
just like Bucky's story, I just feel like as the Winter Soldier, like he's had so much trauma, and I feel
Yeah.
like he's now just finally getting over it, and
Yeah.
it was a little weird.
Well, and they
Besides,
really,
also,
like, made a
I'm
point
hoping
of
that they
how
just
he
call it
had
Snowman
evolved.
at this point because
Yeah, wait,
can we
what was
talk-
that? What was that movie? Falcon.
The
Falcon
Falcon
and
and the Snowman. a
But I just
seminal
wanna, like-
film from 1986, starring Oscar winners Sean Penn and Timothy Hutton.
Okay, but we want to talk about the real star of this episode, which is Zemo's butler.
Which was so
Yes!
funny in the
Who was the
reaction.
guy
We was
from
like, it was like,
Falcon?
it was like,
Snowman.
who's that? And I was like, oh, it's Zemo's butler.
Did you guys notice he had like white
Yeah,
gloves
white
on?
gloves.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I thought
he
it
looked
was a
like
new
he was-
villain. I was like, who is
No,
I
that?
did too.
You couldn't. You couldn't remember the snowman, the Falcon and the Snowman.
He looked straight out of like the
Birdman
gosh.
and the Cold Boy.
Yeah.
All in the game says Birdman and the Cold
Birdman
Boy.
And the Cold Boy.
Yeah.
That sounds like a gothic children's book by like Edward Gorey or something.
There's a lot that we can talk about for this episode that was obviously
Sokovia and
awesome,
Alfred.
and we
Yeah,
can
where
go
do we
into
want
it.
to like
Sokovia
officially
and
start
Alfred.
this conversation?
Yeah, he looked like
There's
he
so
was
much
straight out
to
of like
unravel.
the Adams Family, though. I was like, who is this?
Totally.
Yeah.
I know. I just forgot what he looked like, but that, yeah,
When we first saw him on the tarmac a few episodes back, I literally said, "Oh, Zemo has his own Alfred." That was
Yeah.
like where my
Right,
mind
yeah,
went
yeah.
immediately. Too,
But he's like an evil Alfred. He's not like a
Yeah.
nice, like caring
yeah, he
Alfred.
blew-
He's like,
he
oh, I'm
blew
gonna
up
blow
a-
up this truck, Alfred.
little bit
Yeah,
trash.
instead of being like a moral check on Zemo the way Alfred is on Batman, it's like he just enables all of Zemo's worst
Right.
worst
tendencies,
instincts,
yeah.
worst habits.
Yeah.
But he's awesome. Cheers to him. Actor from The Falcon and the Snowman.
I'm excited.
I mean, that was technically like we got him blowing up the van full of the soldiers, and then it cuts to Zemo like briefly like hearing the news and looking very happy about it. But like if I have to pick like some of my small gripes with this episode, one of them is definitely not enough Zemo. Like I kind of wanted to
It
see.
got cut.
Yeah, okay.
More
Like we've been
Zemo.
hearing a lot
More
about that
Zemo.
Thunderbolt scene and
Got cut.
getting some more of the raft perhaps.
As
And we
much
were
as I agree
There's a
with that, like
rumor-
they did tie his storyline. Like if we had not even seen
Yeah.
him this week at all, it would still have made sense.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
a rumor that there's gonna be I think there is a Thunderbolts end credit scene. I think it's being saved for Black Widow now.
It's
yes,
insane.
Okay.
I've heard this now.
interesting.
Yeah.
Because Yelena Belova, her
Yeah.
sister, was supposed to be like the cameo in this show at the end,
Mhm.
but they changed because
Right,
because
Florence
this show was
Pugh,
supposed to come
right?
out.
Yeah, because she's
Florence
gonna be
Pugh's
part of the
character.
Thunderbolts. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Black Widow was supposed to
Black
come out
Widow
first.
and the like constant delays are clearly messing with everything because that's we talked
Yeah.
about this last week, but how Val was supposed
Lost
to
Dylan.
appear and how her appearance in
He'll be back.
this show would have like had a stronger impact and been less confusing if we had
Confusing.
already met her.
Yeah.
But
So wait, guys, Hustle Mandalorian just said whose eyes started sweating during the Isaiah Bradley museum
Yeah,
scene.
I had some eyes
So
sweating.
you watched my reaction. Me.
I did watch
I mean,
a reaction,
you can
John.
See me like fully like covered in mascara and snot. If
And you
look
called
back
that.
at our
We-
reaction.
Jo-
you
yeah,
guys- you guys
A.
called
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Yeah, I called it. I was gonna say, like, you can look
Which
back in our
part?
live stream from like
Oh,
episode
the
1
memorial.
or
The
Memorial,
museum,
yeah.
we've talked
Yeah.
about this since like episode 1.
or episode
We've
2
been,
when
like-
Isaiah Bradley. When is it when he first shows
Yeah,
up?
it
Is
was 2.
episode?
It was 2.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay,
two, whenever
yeah.
he first showed up. Yeah. we've
So
been
that
talking
live
about
stream
that
is when
since
I
then.
like proposed that idea of like, what if we get an exhibit for Isaiah Bradley in the museum? And John, I did watch your reaction, and I saw like the first thing you said was like, "Oh my God, Jenny's gonna freak out."
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, that was my theory.
And I said, in
I
the,
know,
in the, in
I
the
realized that
aftermath, I
after,
said
I'm like,
Mike.
I
I said
like,
Mike.
oh, sh-
I was like,
yeah.
that was Mike.
No,
We
yeah,
have
I was
definitely
thinking, I was
talked
like,
about
wow, we
that.
definitely
Yeah,
had a
I-
for
conversation about this
weeks on
before.
end. It was so satisfying
I
to see.
applaud it.
I wish they had brought Rhodey back, not only for like
Yeah.
the lovely parallelism of
Don Cheadle.
like Rhodey bringing Sam
more
there
Don
in the
Cheadle in
beginning
my
of the
life.
Yeah.
series,
Yeah.
and then it would have been nice to see that full circle. Also, as we all know, I just love Don Cheadle, and I just
I
wanna see
agree,
him.
Jenny.
But,
I
like-
kind of like
Don
because you would have had a
Cheadle.
nice
How can
little
you not?
bookend there of like Don Cheadle
Right.
and Sam in the beginning, and then them at the end. Yeah, and
Yeah, just as like a parallelism, just as like a from the narrative structure of like having had that scene between him and Sam earlier in the show, but still
Yeah.
it was, as you can see if you watched our video, Mike and I were both in tears. I had to like collect myself for a minute. I was crying so hard. Like it was a very powerful. So just give Carl Lumley his Emmy like right
Yeah.
now. Like just give that man an Emmy immediately.
And I know you were talking about a sort of maybe a little bit dissatisfaction with you didn't get enough Zemo, and I know we're sort of jumping around here, but I think one of the only things I was sort of dissatisfied with was I think the ending sort of suffered from like a Return of the King syndrome, where it just kept ending, and I was like, is this the
Yeah,
ending?
yeah,
And then
yeah.
there's another scene, and then there's another scene,
Right.
and there's
There
another
was a
scene.
lot to
Yeah,
wrap
I
up.
agree, Levi.
Totally.
There is a
yeah,
lot
And
to
really good
I was like,
analogy.
when is the end? And it was all good stuff, but I felt it went
Well,
on a little.
I do have a big complaint about that, what you're talking about, and that's that like because everything felt like they were just sort of like packing all these story ends into the last couple minutes there. That
Exactly.
the Bucky and Yuri scene was way too short.
Yeah, that
And-
was
Oh
very
yeah,
underdeveloped.
I
It
I
felt
had a
very
strong
rushed.
sense-
I
just
think
as
it was,
like having worked
subtle.
for so many years in film, I got the very strong sense that that's a scene that was like massively cut. Like I don't know this for a fact, but I just had a sense that that was like chopped
Right.
somehow.
The show did
for
suffer from
necessity.
I
reshoots.
agree, but,
and-
like,
or
I
not
think-
suffer. I thought it was good, but
I
it
think
had a lot
having
of
that scene be
reshoots.
so
and-
short, like having that scene be so short, I think it was honestly maybe kind of better because it was so subtle, and there was like that moment where like he starts to like tear up, and then they just kind of leave it, and I think that was more impactful.
It left me it left me wanting more because
Yeah,
I
but
feel
then
like we
wait.
got a lot of
for
Sam's.
sure, but like what would have
and-
happened? Like he would just cry like more and just.
Well, I mean, there's more
Right.
like I don't know exactly. I'm not the creative.
I think we got that
minds
performance out of
over there,
Sebastian
but-
Stan. He like killed it again, just like that scene, that flashback to Wakanda. We got that side of him again, which is
I
so
think
good
that
visuals
the
from that,
sequence
but-
where we see him walk by the shop or the
That
like,
was good
and
too.
see him. No, I think you could have replaced that with more time in
Okay.
the scene where they're sitting with each other.
Yeah.
Right.
That could have been a good resolution.
Because it would have helped to at
Yeah.
least see Yuri like have a like distinct opinion on the matter, or at
Exactly,
least
yeah.
have like a
Yeah.
like I don't want to see you again.
Well, I
'Cause-
think that
Right.
explained it. That explained
Because,
it. Like,
I mean, Bucky
Yuri-
didn't
Yuri
walk
doesn't
in.
wanna-
I mean,
But-
I understand. Like, if I were desperately trying to cut a massive episode down to an hour,
It's just
and
super nitpicky.
something has to go, like, I get it, because we have in the last episode, we've already really seen Bucky's evolution and Bucky's emotional journey. Like,
Mhm.
as of last week, we were already talking about like what a place of self-awareness he had reached. So I understand that there wasn't too much like new narrative ground, just like what John's saying. Like we've already seen like Bucky go through the emotional process. I do actually appreciate the scene outside the window of the restaurant. I made a comment in the reaction that for me, that was similar to like leaving Sarah after last episode. Basically, the idea being this situation has been taken care of and there is a community there to support you. So Sam doesn't have to stick around anymore to be Uncle Sam, like the community is there.
And Bucky doesn't
And
need to
in
stick
this
around.
case, it was a similar thing. It was like the nice bartender and whoever else is there, like in this Japanese community,
Yeah.
is going to look after him. And he's taken care of. He's not going to be alone, and it's okay for Bucky to move on. So I get like the, again, parallelism. I get the sort of setting up of those two scenes to have echoes of each other. And I think that the show made repeatedly a very strong point about community as the antidote to bureaucracy. So I actually did appreciate that. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's not that there was some huge narrative thing that we missed by the Yuri scene being foreshortened. It just felt a little awkward, like a bad
Yes,
haircut.
yeah.
Like it was a little bit uneven in the way it was cut. And I really would have, I guess, liked to see, I know Yuri isn't a central character, but I would
Like an
have still
extended cut
appreciated
of
at
that.
least seeing like his reaction to this
Yeah.
news.
Would've
or
gone a
whatever.
long
I
way.
think we did because he was looking down, and like I think that did.
I think we're
enough,
nitpicking,
honest.
and we should
No,
focus on-
100%.
Yeah, like
definitely.
absolutely
Well, it's interesting to
love
talk
this.
about,
This
though.
is like
Oh, it is.
you have
It
to
is. I think,
complain
like,
about
yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of emotional journeys, Jenny, how do you think people are going to react to John Walker? How's that? How do you think that's going to land?
I
'Cause
think
I loved it.
we talked a bit about how this could like go either way. Like he has the potential now to be one of the good guys. Like he made the right choice
Yeah.
when it mattered by trying to save that truck. But I thought this scene at the end with Val, that was such a good scene for so many reasons. It was so well handled. I loved the gender reversal. It was funny. With like the two women waiting for the man to like get his outfit right.
It's like,
Like,
it's the same,
you
but
know,
black.
and he's,
Yeah, it's
But
probably
then-
the helmet. That's what
and
she
then
says.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus being like, no, I'm not. Or am I? No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Except I might be. Like, she's so good. She's
Yeah.
so funny.
There's a
She keeps you on your toes, being like, what is
I know.
happening?
I
It's
can't
so
wait to see her
cute.
again. So she's gonna be on Black Widow that we know. I mean, again, I assume future projects. So it'll be
But what I
cool.
really,
Really-
noticed from that scene was that he's still this big man child who needs his ego stroked. He still needs like all his girl fans to be like, you're number one. You look so handsome in your suit. Like he
Yeah.
still needs to be told that he's the center of attention.
Well,
And
that was part at
that's
the end, he
that's
was,
where
like,
the potential is for him
dancing.
to go like real bad. Also, that we talked about where his allegiances lie is going to be a big issue because I mean he has not been treated well by the army, but also he has responsibility for the way he was treated.
I think they made it pretty
simultaneously.
obvious that he's beholden to Val now because
He's
she was like,
beholden to
Yeah.
her rather
Yeah.
than
Right.
the army or America or whatever. And so the
Well, I
question of
think that
whether
he is
he's
sort of
blindly
beholden to
loyal or
America,
has some kind of
like,
ideals.
shadow,
gonna
like
be-
CIA sort of
he
deal.
just
He's
he
US
needs someone to
agent.
answer to, you know.
Do we
He's
think
like-
Val is truly
he's always
evil?
been
Because
under
some people,
someone.
in the chat are saying that I think
no, she goes both ways.
I
Just
don't
like
think
we're-
we know.
Yeah.
I don't think we
Well,
know
that's the
at all.
thing. I mean, we're
He
playing
doesn't
with gray area now. Like Thanos was like
Yeah.
he had some gray area, but it was like that's an evil act. But now it's like there's a lot of
Yeah.
different.
It also
viewpoints
depends
that
on
we're
how much
looking
of
at.
her story they're gonna like reconnect with Nick Fury because
Right,
they-
exactly.
we've identified her as somebody that has a history with Nick Fury, who we
Right.
know is a good guy. So, you know,
But
she
has
may.
also been a Skrull
Been-
in the comics.
yeah.
So like maybe that's a thing. Is it actually her or is it
probably-
just a
Right.
Skrull?
will happen.
We don't know.
My question though about John Walker more pertained to the way that people are reacting to it, because since episode 4, there's been this like hate train for John Walker, and then I think some
Yeah.
of the criticism of this episode is maybe his sudden turn, so to speak, or not sudden from maybe
Yeah.
people's perspective, but in my opinion, I was talking to the guys about this last night, is that I think when we watch this back, I think the way that the narrative is being presented as Karli and John going down these two similar paths on two opposite sides, and then being presented with the choice to be better, and John making that choice to be
Right.
better, and really, he's aggressive and conflicted essentially the whole time, and his breaking point is when he kills the Flag Smasher. But then the entirety of the time is he's conflicted, and I think the show is presenting that to us, and I think we as fans put a lot of the hate that character has into him, and that's not actually what's being
Over
presented
time,
to us.
Yeah.
And I think that might be,
100%.
and I think that might be a
Yeah.
misunderstanding of what they're trying
Yeah.
to show us with.
There's a really
John is still a wild
interesting-
card, though. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
Dan. I was gonna
he's
say
a-
he's still a
That's
wild
fine.
card,
Yeah.
and that like he did have like a little redemption arc in this episode, but it doesn't like absolve him of like he still has the
Yes.
potential to
Be
make
bad,
bad
yeah.
decisions, and yeah,
Yeah.
so it's gonna go
There-
either
there-
way, and probably
There's an
will.
interesting
But
thing
I
that
think
Karli
it's established
says.
as conscious, though. As conscious.
I want to hear what
Earlier-
Dylan keeps trying to
Go ahead,
say.
Dylan.
What's
I'm
up,
sorry,
Dylan,
Dylan.
go
Right.
ahead.
It's
Right.
kind of tying to what Levi's saying. There's an interesting thing that Karli says while fighting Bucky, and she's like, "Quick, give him someone to rescue, distract him, or something like that." And so, one, you see like that's the difference between a hero and someone that's lost their way. Give them someone to rescue, like that was your original goal. But also that goes back to John because that's what he's faced with: either fight Karli or rescue the people. Ultimately, he
Chooses to rescue
chose
people.
to at least to try to rescue the people. And I thought that was kind of when I watched it back, that was a cool little. I don't know.
They
if that was
also though it's
intentional,
not
but-
it's not just his actions there, but also when Sam gives that little speech and John and Bucky are sort of standing off to the side, there are multiple shots that show John sort of like acknowledging what Sam is saying and being like, okay, I see like how this is going now. Like it
Like, you
where it
should
was
be
making
Captain
sense to him
America, yeah.
all of a
Yeah.
sudden that he
Um,
like was acknowledging in his mind that Sam is like Captain America and that that was his like his moment there to be like, okay, I'm not Captain America anymore, and I accept it. But that it further like in that next episode, that next scene with Val, where she says we need a U.S. agent, it shows him being like, I'm back.
Yeah,
back.
I think he
So-
still is, and
Yeah.
because of
Special
that,
again.
I think he
yeah.
still is beholden to the U.S. government. Just a
I
different
want
part
to
of the
Yeah.
US
yes
government.
and the situation because I don't think that like all of the things you guys are saying are mutually exclusive. And I think that's why it's a compelling character and it's why he's a wild card because he is being pulled in multiple directions. If you watch back our reaction, Mike and I had like very different, I don't know if I want to say opinions or like very different attitudes towards him going in. Mike was much more predisposed to be sympathetic towards him than I was. Multiple people have commented on this moment where Mike was like, come on, buddy. And I was like, not really. Because I wasn't rooting for him. I was kind of like, you both did that. I had the same thought that like he and Karli are basically the same at this point in terms of their methods and their having lost the plot and crossed the line and all of these things. But for me, the problem is not just like a distaste for John Walker's methods. It's not just the sort of like imperialist attitude and the swagger and all of that. Like, yes, I dislike that. But it's not just that. For me, it's that this dude remains very unaware of his own privilege relative to the other folks in this scenario, even relative to Karli, who I also think crossed a line and went too far, but she actually was an oppressed person to begin with. And John Walker, not so much. He got a raw deal from the army, but also he bears some responsibility for that. And even having gotten a raw deal, he was treated better than Isaiah Bradley was, better than like any number of people. He actually got off easy. And I just feel like he was so unwilling or unable or both to confront like his own ignorance, his own privilege. And that was part of why I was, I think, less inclined to root for him than Mike was going in. He did make the right decision when it counted, but I keep coming back to the fact that like the civilians in that truck were like American people. I imagine that because of his training, because of the way he's been brought up and his worldview, he still sees those people as like more human, that they're more important somehow than the flag smashers and then the terrorists. Like someone else will get them. They're just nameless, faceless terrorists.
Wow,
I
I
better
think-
take care
That
of
to me
the
sounds a
real
little
Americans.
extreme to me. I feel like you're projecting more of like a bad guy image onto him than he deserves because they did make a point to show him becoming a team player for the first time
Yep,
too,
yeah.
where he specifically isn't just like out of my way, like I'm doing it the John Walker way, where he was willing to like stand back and like let Bucky, you
Yep.
know, they even showed that one where they like fooled the Flag Smashers with their app and they're like, hey, like thanks for like, it's a cool app or whatever, and then he quotes Lincoln and Bucky's like,
Like, it's
nah,
not
like,
good when you say it.
yeah, like,
It's
that was
hilarious.
a funny little banter moment where it was like, okay, John's like playing on a team now. He's willing to use their methods.
And I think
So-
Jenny, Jenny, to your point, sorry to cut you off, Mike, a little bit.
No, go ahead.
That I think the point that they're trying to make, that the writers are trying to make, which Kari Skoglund, right, did a great job, and the man who wrote it, Malcolm Spellman, I believe,
Yeah, who is the showrunner of
showrunner as well, did a
Yeah.
great job. And I think that the critique is not necessarily to just contrast the two, but to show that both, like, specifically a critique of bureaucracy, in on the side of John Walker, but that both have a negative impact on the like real human beings that exist within these systems. Not to necessarily be like, I guess I think this, like, I agree a little bit with Mike that I think some of those things you're projecting onto John Walker. That's just me. But I think with what they're presenting, I think a lot of it is just a critique of all of the way these
Right.
systems interact with each other and how we can work to be better. And that's sort of what I think Captain America's speech is about. Sam's speech is at the end. So I drew away a more like optimistic take on particularly John Walker in this last episode and mainly from just the emotions I was feeling from like him doing these things. Like I don't know, that was just I felt more positive.
There
about
definitely was this moment that Mike mentioned during Sam's speech when like multiple times they showed his face, and it felt like what they were showing us was that he was absorbing what Sam was saying and taking it on board. But how he works with that moving forward is, I think, still a question, because we've seen that he is a man with a very fragile ego, like a very fragile ego, and that it's not an accident that in the current world, in the world we are living in, it is not an accident that he is this blonde, blue-eyed guy. Sam even says that he's like, I'm not blonde, I don't have blue eyes. Like, he's chosen specifically to be a stand-in for this image of like unchecked white privilege. It's not accidental.
And
so
all in the
part
game
of it
in the
might
chat.
be me projecting or whatever. That's absolutely fair, but it's also like it's been deliberately he's been given to us not just as a character,
Well, he's also,
but as a symbol.
to be
And
clear,
so,
I don't
like,
think he's a
you
good
know,
guy.
I'm less inclined
Right.
to let him off easy for the bad things he's done.
Like,
I still want to
I
see
think
like
going
more
forward, he still will
accountability
be a
for
villain,
that.
right? Or like an anti-hero.
I think an anti-hero. I don't
U.S.
think he's
agent is
a villain.
explicitly like a bad character or a great character in the
Yeah.
comics.
Also,
No, he
Jenny,
does
I
have a
know
moral
I know
compass,
some
but-
people in the comments would point out like about how like, dude, have you noticed how many people the other Avengers have murdered in other movies?
Oh,
And like,
I know.
we didn't-
100%.
yeah, like
Yeah.
especially Tony Stark, just like,
Yeah,
like
right.
The whole
killing
movie
hundreds
about
of
that.
people.
There's a
Like,
whole
Whit-
movie about
yeah,
The whole thing in
Yeah.
Lagos, alone, which is why the Sokovia Accords came to pass,
yeah.
because
So
there was,
we don't
like, so
also
much
we don't want to like
indiscriminate
hold John Walker
destruction.
to a higher standard just because of like our distaste for how he came into the situation.
All in the game in the chat is saying that the redemption still happened a little too quick, though.
Yeah,
and it felt off for
absolutely.
him. And that's what I was trying to address. Is when I think we rewatch it, I think they were trying to present a different thing, but I don't think that the character is redeemed necessarily. And that's what
No,
this
not
ending
at all.
scene
No.
shows.
Yeah.
Is
No,
that
no,
going
no.
forward, he's still going to be a complex, more
Yeah.
great character.
But it shows
Right.
that
If
he
they
has an
gave us
actual
this
moral
moment with the
compass.
truck, like if he had let those people die, that would have been like a
Right.
dark side moment for him. They
Mhm.
gave us a sign that he is redeemable,
Exactly.
which
a
is
sign that
like
he's
a
human.
central point of the
Right.
show, being that like people are redeemable and
Yeah,
don't
and
just
this is
throw
not the
people
last
away.
we'll see of U.S. Agent. So
Right. And I
Coming
think so
back.
they
Right.
gave us like an opportunity for him to be redeemable. I just
Mm-hmm.
don't think he is, like you just said, I
Yeah.
don't think he's redeemed yet. And I think
No.
that having this new allegiance to someone who we don't know what Val's agenda is, we don't know what her allegiances are, we don't know what her place in this world is yet. And if his sort of blind allegiance is to her, rather than questioning the system that she exists within or that he exists within, that's potentially problematic, and he could backslide very quickly into
Yeah.
Right.
fighting the
Especially
wrong
if she's-
people,
especially if
being
she's tied to
against
Hydra.
the wrong people.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Jenny-
I was just
Especially if
gonna
she's
say,
Hydra, yeah.
do we think that Val is gonna like use that to her advantage, like manipulate the hell out of him?
Oh
Like,
yes.
he like at least
100%.
likes to. I mean, U.S. Agent, we get the idea, or John Walker, he at least wants to do what he thinks is the right thing. Doesn't mean it's the right thing. Doesn't mean it's a good thing that he's doing. But at the end of the day, I mean, he's been told it's the right thing. He even says in the last episode, like, "You made me." That's what he tells the senator.
Also, though,
Yeah.
like, let's not forget about John Walker's wife. Like, she like wasn't like a major character, but like, hopefully, like moving forward, she will, because like obviously Battlestar was like that voice of reason, and unfortunately Battlestar died. So we were like,
Yeah.
oh, now like he doesn't have a voice of reason anymore. Like,
Well, no,
he
he
does still have
does.
his wife, and we'd like to think
Right.
that his wife will be like that voice of reason moving forward.
And I think
where
it's
Well,
equally.
it seems like
maybe
it seems
she'll
like,
bring him back when he starts going like too far, kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
she
I
always
did point
comes
out
off
to
as
Jenny that like
apprehensive.
in the future, like John Walker's still like U.S. Agent is a character now, And like in the future, that's a powerful guy that we want fighting on our team. You want him
Yeah.
on. We want to root for him. So moving forward, like yes, he is a wild card. He could potentially still make bad decisions but we want to root for him to be fighting for the good
And I
guys
think
because
I think they made the point also, in addition to a lot of the comments that have been made, that all of the supporting characters in his life are people of color. Like his wife isn't white, and Lamar Hoskins was his best friend, and he really cared about that family. And I think in terms of like the commentary, that's why I think it's a broader critique of the way bureaucracy affects these real human beings, and it's showing us that like everyone on either side of this conflict in this show was just a person who was driven to a point by the. And I keep going back, like that's what the speech is about at the end. Like we're all just people trying to survive.
I do also want to acknowledge that I know that like in the last episode, or yeah, it was episode 4, right, where John Walker went crazy.
Yes.
Yep.
That's the end.
Yeah. That there were a number of people, particularly you could tell, like people in the military, veterans and stuff like that were more like, why are you so critical of John Walker? Like, give the guy a chance. And I noticed that like there were some comments after this episode of people being like, I'm a veteran. I just want to let you know, like that John Walker's redemption arc here, like meant a lot to me personally. It may not mean as much to you, or you may not agree with it, but I do know that there were people that are veterans, and they what's the word I'm looking for? Like they associate themselves with
Yeah.
people like
Yeah.
John
For
Walker.
Sure,
Yeah,
they
and
feel
from their
relate to him.
represented
Yeah.
by that character.
Yeah.
The
Right.
only point I have to make to that, I mean, we've talked about veterans constantly since episode 1. We had a big conversation about the way veterans are treated and the way veterans are not supported by the country for which they have fought. Like we've talked about this, and this is a systemic issue with the Army and the U.S. administration and the way people are just kind of discarded after risking their lives. However, in this case, Isaiah and Sam are both also veterans. And so when we look at the way John Walker is treated, did he get a raw deal from the Army? Yes. But he also bears responsibility for his part in taking the super serum. And if you compare the way he is treated by the Army with the way Isaiah is treated, there's no comparison. Between the two of them, Isaiah is definitely the more injured party. Like John Walker got a much better deal.
I think the
So
comparison
I don't
there
think
is
anybody's arguing that like the Army treated him well. But what I said last week holds. Two things can be true. Like the Army, the government, etc., can be treating veterans like disposable, interchangeable pieces, can be very culpable. But John Walker can also be kind of on the wrong side and can have privilege relative to other people who have found themselves in a similar situation.
And I think the stark contrast there was more between Steve Rogers and Isaiah.
The stark
also
contrast.
a
Pun
veteran.
intended.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just because like I think that them existing in two very different time periods was also, they made a point about that. And like I said, like I think they made a point that John Walker wasn't like a white supremacist. Like that wasn't his identity, but he was this, like he is a problematic figure, but it's not white supremacy. Like I think they made
a
a point.
system like the system we live in is white supremacist. It's not about individual people's opinions. Systemically, that's
I understand what you're saying, but I think
how
that the
we
character, like in his mind,
but
I don't
again,
think he's
it's
thinking.
one of these things when we talk about racism and white supremacy, it's not enough to chalk it up to individual people's decisions and actions, because you can be completely virtuous and fighting the good fight and still living in a system that is inherently white supremacist. And part of my issue with him is his sort of horse blinders he has to that system, and he really only looks at it from his own personal point of view. And although it might be a more stark contrast between Isaiah and Steve Rogers, the other thing is that there's still the contrast between John Walker and Sam. Like Sam wasn't good enough for them in the first place.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like I
took
think
that
the
shield
parallels
from
are.
Sam and gave it to John because he looked the way they wanted him to look. That didn't work out very well for them. But again, like Sam's also a veteran and has also been through a lot of trauma and has also been done dirty by his own government in the course of this show.
And I think, comparing those Sam and John is the more like salient comparison for like as like a narrative strip plot of the show. But then like I think John, this is just only to go, not to say that he's good, but that he's complicated. That like when we've talked about, he recognizes Sam as Captain America, and like that sort of arc for him, and realizing that he is the much better Captain America for the country as a whole
right now. Yeah.
Right now, like I think they made a point. Go ahead, Mike.
I was gonna say, is it Man14 said, "What do you think about Val meant when she said things are gonna get weird?" I noticed
Secret
that.
Invasion.
Secret, and I
Oh,
was
yeah.
like,
Secret
wow,
invasion.
she knows
Weird.
Skrulls are coming. That was how I
Yeah.
read that.
So
Things
maybe
are
she
gonna
is
be
Amelia
a
Clark. You see
Skrull.
Amelia
Maybe
Clark
she's a
is going to be
Skrull.
involved.
Yeah,
Yep.
I thought that was a hint that Val could be a Skrull.
Again,
That
that's
line in
right after the
particular.
pretty
comic book,
positive
she
she
was
is.
replaced by
So.
Skrull. She was like a
She
very
could be a
high level person
Skrull.
to be replaced by a
Yeah.
Skrull.
And she's
Especially
always
if she was supposed to be in
she's
Black
always
Widow.
solo
I would be
too.
more
Like
surprised if she wasn't. So
somebody pointed out that clearly, like Julia Louis-Dreyfus had like one filming day, and they just like shot all their scenes with her on one day because that courtroom is like basically where she was in the other scene in the
Yeah,
previous
it's true, it's
episode.
true.
right.
Yeah.
But it did also
Yeah.
it does also like they have sort of shown how that she's, like I said, solo. She's there by herself. There's never anyone else there. Like, how does she have access to John Walker right after her in the hallway? Like, it was one of those.
And we don't
I
really know
think
her
it's-
place in any sort of government. Like she clearly is in some sort of position of power. Like I think it's the way I
We
read it
don't know
was,
who she's answering to.
yeah, what is
Right.
what is
Hey,
her position?
Let's move on from John Walker right now because we've been talking about John Walker for a while. Do you guys want to talk about Sam and the new suit and Sam scenes, or do you want to get into the power broker Sharon stuff now?
I think Karli is a more like seamless. Like
We gotta
let's
talk about all
talk about
these.
the
Let's
opposite
save
side of the
Sam
coin.
because we're gonna all celebrate Sam.
I
and
like
suit
the
and everything.
suit.
Let's save the joy for the end.
I think
for
talking
the
about
complex stuff.
Karli, one world, and they don't say one people back. Like
Yeah.
that's a hell
Oh
of a moment.
yeah.
And she's like,
That's a
one
hell of a-
world. Like, what?
Yeah,
this
we
is what we're
immediately got
doing
the
here.
impression that they were gonna like turn her in after she said that, or
Yeah.
that her friends were gonna like rat her out, or maybe even
Right.
They
turn
knew
on her.
she
and-
had gone too far with.
but
like,
then
bringing the
they
bus of
kind of just went
civilians.
along with it.
But it seems like maybe something was cut there because I feel like there was maybe an idea of like when they actually were just like, no, we're not gonna follow this. Maybe at the end, but I think
No,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it was a point about how just the same way on the other side is that if you're complicit in this, you're just as culpable for
Right.
what.
yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
they said that, but then like, yet they still went along.
Well,
and-
Well,
I
they
mean,
have
Karli
this
is-
motto: "One world, one people." And then she said to John Walker, like something about people who don't matter. She was referring to
Mhm.
battle stars, people who
Right,
don't
yeah.
matter. And of course, what she meant was who don't have a role to play in my particular quest. But the word, again, it's not accidental. You're like, if you think that it's one world and one people, how can you also think that some people don't matter or that your people matter more than others?
and then she
Their
sets that truck on
complaint is
fire.
that they're being treated like they don't matter. But then she's turning around and being just as supremacist as they are in her own way. She's
Zemo gets the
thinking
last
other
laugh.
people don't matter.
Yeah,
Zemo really
Zemo
does.
always
Like
gets the last
really, really, he did in that sense.
Yeah.
So she had just sort of betrayed her own core. And this is the thing that we keep saying about Zemo, as sort of mercurial as he is and, fighting on whichever side is convenient to him, he is ideologically consistent. He has not changed his thinking.
It's-
And we see that
It's true. It's true.
right up to the
That's
end
funny
where he
that you just
smiles,
used the
but-
word mercurial, Jenny, because
Mhm.
somebody else pointed out in the chat how Sharon dropped a mercury vapor bomb, and
yeah.
that guy's like,
Dude,
wow,
brutally.
Different
that
issue.
was brutal. Yeah.
Literally
Yeah,
murdered
his
that
face
guy.
was literally melting.
In a second.
Yeah, that
But,
was-
I mean, just to tie up the Zemo thing, he has remained consistent
Sharon.
in his philosophy.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, Karli really betrayed her core philosophy by treating other people as disposable.
And I liked
as
her death.
pawns, and
I like
kinda
that she just
proved
said, "I'm
Zemo
sorry,"
right.
and that's
Yeah.
it. She just said, "I'm sorry." I didn't need a long, protracted death sequence with her because
Yeah.
as soon as she found out who Sharon was, I knew she had to die. Like we were talking about that last
Yeah.
week,
Right.
like would she die or not? And the second that it's revealed, or she needs to be taken out of the equation somehow. I'm not entirely sure if she's dead because she does get taken away on that stretcher. But her ending,
But
I'm
then
glad
they
she
said
just
they
said, "I'm
referred. Yeah,
sorry,"
I had the
that's it.
same thought, but then they referred to her being dead
Yeah.
later
I
after
think
she had
she's
been
dead.
taken away.
Yeah,
I
she's
think
dead.
I still really like the quote where she's like, I feel like it perfectly encapsulates what she's become, where she's like, distract him, he needs someone to save. Like that's such a, like, I don't know why it stuck with me so much, but it's such a backwards way of thinking for someone that wants to do good in the world, but sets a truck on fire. Like it's all about, like, I mean, the show really plays with the themes of means to an end and like how far
Yeah.
you're willing to take it to get what you want. And
Mhm.
I don't know,
And
eventually
Sam
you
said that
start
to her.
become
Sam
the
called
bad
her
guy.
out. He's like, a few people now, more people later. When does it end? Where does it stop?
Exactly.
How many
right.
means are too many means to your end? Like that's it.
Right.
They made that point.
But they also made sure that you sort of like always kind of have a sympathy for her, like, because you understand how she was created, and you see like why people like her are created in the real world. And I think this show, like, I don't know, there's
the
not
other
a
side
lot
of
of
the
shows
coin
like
of John Walker's. The other side of the
Right,
coin.
right,
Well, when
exactly.
they had
Especially,
that fight, like the John Walker, Karli, Bucky were all on site together. And I didn't say this out loud, but like the thought that kept running through my head was, oh my God, this is a collection of like the most incredibly damaged people. Like
Right.
working out the sources of all their damage on
Like a
each
therapy
other.
session.
And
Yeah.
there are
Levi.
no winners here. There are only losers. It's this idea that I cannot claim credit for this quote, but it's this thought that the war goes on for people in it, even after the war has
Right.
ended, that like there are no winners in war. There are only ever losers. And that was a
True.
very sad scene. It was badass. This stunt choreography and fight choreography was amazing throughout that scene. So it was a really cool scene to watch, like visually, but I just also found it very hard to watch in a lot of ways, because even the folks who have irredeemably crossed the line, like dropping a truck full of civilians, it's over the line, you still do understand like what she's fighting for and why she's been hurt. And like the pain of all three of those characters was palpable for me. It was like very real
Yeah.
in that
Oh,
scene.
that's why Sam in his speech was like right away was like, we got to stop calling them terrorists.
Yeah, I love
yeah.
that. I really like
So
that.
good.
Yeah.
We've
So
never
he was
gotten
he
that
was
in,
able
like,
to sympathize with her without, becoming part of her bad
He
decisions.
can compartmentalize the cause, the
Yeah.
bigger
Yeah.
picture from her individual actions,
Well, I also like how he's like, is anyone who you're affecting, are they even here giving their like statement on this or giving their opinion on it? Like, you all are just like representatives for them who don't even have a voice in this.
Well, and
like,
her own
it felt
people aren't
so
comfortable
real.
with it. Like the rest of the Flag Smashers not replying with one people, or like
Yeah.
last episode too, when she brought in Batroc and they were like, we didn't agree to this. She has increasingly made decisions for them. And it's obvious that even the main Flag Smashers, the other super soldiers, were clearly very uncomfortable with a lot of the
Yeah.
decisions she made.
Wait, what was the point of that one scene where she called Bucky on his phone? And then they had that little short conversation. He was like,
dis-
"Don't go down this path." Like,
To
I've been-
distract him. To
It was a
distract him.
distraction.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah,
Yeah,
right.
they're trying to get the people in the
So
to execute their plan.
Because then she was sort of just like, "Thanks for the combo, see ya," and it was just
And
like,
he's like, oh shoot.
I wanted to talk
She was
more about that.
distracting him long enough to get that truck out of there.
"Oh, okay,
Yeah.
that's what it was." Okay,
I want to talk more about that Sam speech, because that was like so good. Like what a great part of the episode.
Before you go on,
But-
Dylan, did you say my name? I heard you say
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Well,
Dylan, were you gonna
it
say
still
something?
relates. Levi, what's the quote where it's like, this war is a result of the inability to listen? Is
It's
that
from
the exact-
Star Wars Episode 3.
Yeah.
Is this war
Yeah, Episode
represents
3.
a failure to listen. It's
Failure.
happening.
Right, and that's it. Like, I felt that a lot, especially in Sam's speech, and like again, especially when he's like, no one that you're affecting is here to talk about it. Like
Yeah.
that really hit there.
Yeah, and the way Sam handled that situation, I feel like it's never really been done in superhero movies or like shows, because I feel like it's mostly the hero
Yeah.
saves the day, they get a pat in the back, everybody cheers to him, and then
Yeah.
the movie ends. But no, Sam confronts the situation. He's like, this is not going to happen again, and this is
Right.
what we can do to help it.
And he
Yeah,
says,
that's
"I'm a
last
black
week,
man
man.
wearing the stars and stripes."
Best cap.
Of
Best
course,
cap.
I
I
That's
was.
buy
cap,
it.
dude.
I love
No,
it.
he.
That part hit. So I was
Yeah.
It was
down
so
with it.
on the nose in a lot of ways, like in a vacuum,
In the
out
best
of
way,
context,
though.
we would have been like, that speech is so, it like literally took all of the central arguments of the show and put them in plain
Put 'em-
speech.
yeah.
But what I said to Mike was, I think that was very necessary, because in the show, and also like in America, for real, we have had this incredible lack of clear authoritative messaging from the
Mhm.
top. Like we've been in the middle of a cascading series of global crises, and there has been no consistent messaging, which has led to so much more pain and death and trauma than we needed to have. And I think the effect of having a strong, clear voice from someone who leads, someone with authority, who really gets it, who understands, like that was like very powerful to me. Like how much
And it's
better would
accessible too,
Yes,
it's like it's a Marvel
exactly.
show, and it's like anyone, like every age is watching this. Everyone's gonna understand what they're trying to put out there.
And
The
how
chat
much
is-
7
good
years
can
old,
we
you
do
know?
if every kid can look at their favorite superhero and hear a strong, clear message that leaves no room for
Confusion.
ambiguity?
Interpretation.
Then how much better could the world be if we could all just sort of like
Exactly.
get on
the
message?
chat is
and
going on and
work
on
with
about
each other.
Sharon Carter.
I know,
oh, we're gonna
everybody
get there.
wants-
We're probably gonna
talk
talk about
about her.
that for a while. One more thing about that Sam scene, as like an audio video nerd, like one of my initial reactions was like, wow, he kind of just like randomly talked to these senators on the street, and they all automatically had like a perfect camera angle and audio
Yeah,
set up, like
it was weird that it was played to be
so that it was
candid,
like
but
on
it's
TV, like a broadcast, like
Oh,
perfectly,
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
unplanned,
True.
like
He's
okay.
not mic'd. He's not wearing a lavalier.
like he could have been saying everything he was saying on a podium, and it would have it would have.
Although
like,
at the same time, like right when Sam like lands and that reporter is like, "Wait, are you like Captain Falcon now? Like, what do we call you? Like, what are you?" And so there were like a bunch of reporters like ready to like interview him. So
but
I guess
before we
it's-
go on to Sharon, is Torres not going to be Falcon? Because like he kind of.
Yeah, no,
Oh, yeah.
he is.
But
He
like
is.
Captain,
Yes.
I mean, he already is. He's kind of like Falcon. He's Captain America with the with the shield and all the Falcon perks. So isn't it a little redundant?
Yeah, they'll just
Not
be two guys
redundant.
with
That's how it
wings
was in the
now.
comics. That's how it was in the
Yeah,
comics.
what-
Okay, so it was the
works.
same. All right.
Yeah, no,
Like,
but
you could have
I mean, you didn't have a
Iron
problem
Man
with
and
Iron Man and Rhodey. Yeah.
Yeah, there's
True,
gonna
true.
be
Rhodey
multiple
and
Iron
No,
Man.
that's true.
coexist.
We're getting
I
Iron
Rhodey
personally
always had,
think
like-
Iron Patriot looks cooler anyway with the chromed out look. I like
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
The end
Yeah.
game, the end game armor is sick. But
I think
Well,
Justin
plus, if you
Hammer's
have
cool
like
robots.
Falcon and
Justin Hammer.
America with wings. Think of like
Don't
the
bring
epic
it
sky
up.
fights you could have with like multiple winged superheroes.
We
Yeah.
got
like,
R.I.P. John's Justin Hammer theory.
dude, you know what? Whatever.
Whatever, bro.
I don't know if you
So,
saw. I don't know if you saw the
point
intro
of
of the
note-
reaction, Mike.
Point
but-
of note, not only Sharon is lying about a lot of things, Sharon can always be lying, but also Sharon never said, yes, I'm the power broker. Carly made
Oh,
the
God.
assumption.
I-
Sharon never said it. They handed it to us on this plate,
I
and
think
then
we're
she
looking
very
into it a
cagely-
little bit.
But it
too
was like
much.
clearly on
think she
purpose
is.
that she didn't. She played her cards
Yeah.
close to her chest. Like for I guess my own sentimental
But she had to
reasons,
kill Batroc. She had to kill.
I didn't like believe she was the power broker, but I'm like twice as convinced that she's
It's
not.
just too
Hey,
obvious.
the way they
Shout out
handed
to
it
Mandy.
to us was
Mandy,
so
we're all
obvious.
good. Thanks for
So on the
Okay, so
nose,
wait.
It's
Quick
a thing that she didn't confirm it at any point.
Wait,
And
oh
we
wait,
know
can I
that
do
she
a
felt
live?
like-
Can I do a poll in the chat? Does that work?
Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah, we
How do I
can.
do it?
I can set one up.
Yeah, all right. I want to know, like, I want to have a quick poll here. Who thinks, like, it's right what they said?
Give me-
Sharon Carter
give
is the
me
power
1 minute.
broker.
So
Sharon
there was
Parker.
something that Karli
Yes or no?
said. Levi made a comment while that happens, while this poll happens. Levi, you made a comment last week that it was like a Luke Cage thing, where like if I can be in charge of the crime, I can control the crime and like
I sort
make
of thought
sure
that,
the
yeah.
right
To me,
people don't
dude.
get hurt. And Karli said something along
Then,
those
yeah,
lines.
I pointed that out. Yeah, I was.
To
I was
her,
happy.
she said like, you
This
know,
world
you
hurts
want
you.
to control the world that hurt
that,
you.
that hurt you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I totally get, and she did some very brutal things, and it's clear that
Yes, yes,
Sharon is
no.
like even darker than we maybe thought. That mercury bomb was really inhumane.
That was
Yeah.
insane.
And
After that, I was like,
brutal.
she's definitely evil. Like,
Yeah,
see
She's
that
she
man
definitely
evil.
got
burned
some like
alive.
bad
some
shit
dark
going on,
side.
but that I mean, I still
Let me
don't
know
think
if
that
this
like
works,
she
guys.
is the ultimate power broker. It was not only did she not confirm it, she just sort of stood there cagely not saying anything, but it was just
There is a poll in the chat, guys.
so
Let me know if it
obvious.
works.
like
So,
it was
okay.
it was so on the surface that I was like, there's more to that situation. She might be working directly with the power broker, or the power broker might be like a conglomeration of individuals. Like it could be a society of some kind rather than like one person.
Just gonna spam it in the
But
chat
I
here.
still think there's like more to that we're
All
gonna
right.
find
So wait a
out.
minute.
later.
A couple weeks ago on our live stream, the main reason we all agreed, like, no, it can't be Sharon Carter, is because we were all like, yep, you know what? Why would she lead
50-50. It's
Yep.
50-50 right
Why
now.
would she lead Zemo directly to Dr. Nagel, which she basically
Right.
did?
I don't
And then,
think
like,
she
when
expected him to kill him.
none.
Angie is also saying in the comments,
I
that
don't
she
think
said,
Sharon
would the
Carter's
real
that
power
stupid.
broker get their hands this dirty, and I agree with that. Like, would the real power broker be in this like hand-to-hand gunfight
I'm gonna
with
share my
Karli,
screen.
like running?
I don't know
towards
if it's
them? I
stupid.
agree.
I think she was just playing a lot of angles at once because
Yeah.
she's working with Bucky and Sam. She's going for that pardon so she can get where she is at the end of the show.
Right.
And if she, and I think, and because she had to kill, what was the woman's name that they were meeting with? Shelby. She had to kill.
Shelby.
She had to
Yep.
kill
Oh,
Shelby,
yeah.
and then that put a lot of bounty hunters out on her, and so that sort of complicated the situation. And she was like, "Well, I'm sort of just
Well-
playing the angles here. I don't know. It was like it seemed like a, I don't know if it was her plan, so to say.
She
but
clearly
was-
didn't expect it because after she's like, "We have a
She's
real
like,
problem."
"Yeah, we
when
got a
she's getting
real
in the
problem."
car. Yeah, and
yeah.
She's clearly
Yep.
a power player in this criminal underworld. I
Yeah.
honestly don't feel like I have any reason to believe she's the power
it's just too
broker.
easy and
like,
such. I
it's
mean, she's
too
already done a
easy.
full 180 from
Marvel-
who she
I'm
was.
surprised
that
it came
easy.
out so like half and half in the poll, because like if you look through the comments on our reaction video, it's a lot of people being like, guys, are you serious? They couldn't have like written it out any clearer.
Well, when
Like,
you take it at face
she's the
value,
power
like,
broker,
right
like get
away.
over it.
Yeah, I mean,
so
like
they
my
got-
instant reaction was like, she's the power broker. But now,
Also,
I mean,
there's a possibility that maybe they changed some stuff script-wise and had to shift things around, and maybe
there's
she
a lot of
wasn't
stuff
Power
that
Broker
changed.
originally.
I mean, there was a
yeah.
whole virus subplot
Yeah,
that they
which they
completely
had to
Also,
eliminate.
I don't know if you guys noticed or not, but I noticed a few people point this out. Like, did you notice that when Sharon got shot, she went out of her way to not let anybody deal with her wound, to not see her wound? Like, what if she is a Skrull and she didn't want anybody seeing her, like, green blood or
It wouldn't
whatever?
surprise me, dude. I'm kind of like not vibing.
That could
with
be a
Sharon,
PG
like, at
show
all,
thing,
not
like
gonna
no
lie.
That's
blood.
what I say. She's clearly
PG
like,
show? Did you see John Walker, like, decapitate that guy with his shield?
Listen, I'm
and
just
then there was, like,
grasping at
blood on
straws.
it?
I'm just grasping at straws, man.
You're
I
just
think-
wrong.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I agree with everything Angie is saying in the comments over here. She's obviously
Shut
high
up,
level.
Angie.
She's obviously become a legit baddie. All in the game, Mike actually came up with the same theory that we got this Shang-Chi trailer very early. We can talk about that trailer
Yeah.
later.
Well,
It was
no, people
beautiful.
pointed out that it was,
But,
what's
like-
his name? Shang-Chi's the
This
actor.
is
What's his name?
birthday.
Simu Liu.
Simu Liu. Yeah, it was his birthday that day, so they released it for his
It
birthday.
came out on Simu's
Oh, wait,
birthday.
that's awesome.
It's
I
the
love
sweetest
that.
thing ever.
Aw.
But it did seem very early, and like Mike had been like, "What if the Mandarin is the power broker? Like, what if Sharon's working with the Ten Rings?"
Oh, actually,
You
whoa,
know?
hold the phone. Aurelio picked up another theory that I was thinking about earlier. Good point. Like, this could be a Dread Pirate Robert situation, Jenny, where like there was a power broker
Oh!
and Sharon killed them, and now she's sort of like assumed the role because one reason people were pointing out it couldn't be her is because power broker's been doing stuff for years.
For a what?
So
The
how could
Dread
she have
Pirate
done? Yeah.
Roberts, I hadn't even thought of
Yeah,
that.
it's a Dread Pirate Robert situation. If you anybody that doesn't know what that is, that's from the Princess Bride. It's the story
If
of
you
like a
haven't seen
pirate.
Princess Bride, you're out of pocket. Go watch the Princess
So
Bride. and
basically, like the
call us
pirate
in the
will like
morning,
live
but,
out
like-
his life in piracy, and then like hand his job down to the next guy, who will then take on the mantle and take the name. So there's just this ongoing like character.
It
of the Dread
becomes
Pirate
like the
Roberts that people
boogeyman or
are
the
yeah.
Yeti or this
Mhm.
like legendary
I don't know
figure.
So
because no
Sharon
human
Carter
lived
may
that
have just
long.
like
Mike
assumed
Brazy-
the role.
Brazy Lanky Tolleson is saying that, if I said your name right, I'm sorry, that there was red blood on her bandage. So.
Yeah.
Oh, there was.
Yeah, no, they did. They showed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
I
she-
thought they
but
only
she's got a
showed
lot of
like
tricks up her
Probably,
sleeve. She
but-
they
could've-
showed
She was
Carly's
bleeding.
Carly touching her own wound, and there was
Got
like
some
blood
ketchup.
there.
and poured
So
all
I
over
still,
them.
I mean, Sharon singularly being the power broker, even just for that reason, that like it's been what, 7 or 8 years for her, and it seems like the power broker has amassed power over a long time. Whether it's like a Dread Pirate Roberts situation or it's a conglomerate, it's basically like a crime.
I feel like that would have been
syndicate rather than a
explained.
single
I
But
person.
also,
I don't know
the
if
power
I-
broker is
I don't
clearly
know
like
if
an
I agree
eye in
with
the
that.
sky, and she's got all that. She's got the
She
she's
has
got the
access to
satellite. She
whatever
knew
she
she knew where
needs. Yeah.
Sam and Bucky were when they were on the run, and when she
I,
was
don't
like,
know,
"This is too
I
perfect."
think the post credit seals it. I really, for me, the
Yeah.
post-credit seals it.
Yeah,
She gets
I-
on the phone and is like, "We're selling black market weapons to
Yeah.
everyone who
Yeah.
we can get a hand on."
Playing
Like,
both sides.
Justin
But
Hammer.
again, like lots of criminals
Yeah,
do that. Justin
please.
Hammer was doing that. It's like I don't think the
It makes
question
sense.
is definitively answered. Like Sharon's definitely up to no good.
Oh, so wait, do
But,
we then
like,
think that maybe John
she's-
Walker and Val are going to interact with Sharon then in the future? Then are they
Maybe.
going to be
Yeah, that'd be cool.
cohorts in a way?
no, well,
Co-conspirators?
Team up? No.
No?
Val and Sharon are on.
I mean,
different
why
paths.
would
I
they
don't
be?
think
Why,
they're-
I feel like I can see. Yeah, they'll have at least some kind of either a conflict or working together, because they're
I
kind
don't
of
think
building
working
up these
together,
two
though.
different like villains or like conflicts, I guess,
I wouldn't
for our
even say
main cast.
villains, dude. I don't.
No,
think it's
that's
too
why
complicated.
I put it in quotations. It's very
Yeah.
complicated. But like, I mean, it seems like we got like the Sharon Madripoor side, we got the Val side, and we got the Avengers side.
I think
almost.
Val is like the Nick Fury of this new Avengers, whether that's going to be called the Thunderbolts or if it's going to be
Dark
called
Avengers.
Avengers.
No, the
Dark
Thunderbolts,
Avengers, or if it's like a
and Dark
crossover
Avengers
of those.
is
Yeah.
separate. The chat's been talking about this.
So-
We've been talking about
I don't know.
I think
Deadpool's a
setting up.
Thunderbolts. He's on the Thunderbolts.
I
isn't
think
he?
setting up
Yes.
Dark Avengers, Thunderbolts, and Young Avengers are all separate things that the show has established.
I think they're going to combine the Thunderbolts and Dark Avengers. I wouldn't see why they'd make two separate things because they're kind of the same. I mean, they're different.
Wouldn't
but
be the
again,
first time they kind of like combine.
Yeah, I think
the
they're gonna- I don't
characters.
think they would-
storylines.
Yeah.
In
I
that
don't think
case,
they're
and
gonna
someone
make-
said this in
Worth
chat, I don't
pointing
know.
out, like we had seen these the flag smashers being carted off in the truck and was like take them
Yeah.
to the raft, and
Yeah.
our immediate reaction was like, oh, Thunderbolts, they're gonna encounter
Yeah, I
Zemo
thought
there
that-
and he's gonna have some criminals.
Mhm.
Turns out Zemo actually stuck to his guns. Zemo actually doesn't want to team up with any super soldiers. He had them killed, but there was apparently one left. Sam went to pull him out of the river. So there is
True.
one super soldier flag
Oh, that's
Remember,
right. They never
True.
tied that
somebody
up,
they
did
don't
they?
they wouldn't have just dropped that if it weren't coming back later. It was otherwise an
I
irrelevant
don't
plot.
remember that.
plot
I think
point.
It was
they- I
also
think-
well, it was like you're
Yeah,
Captain
it cut.
America.
Yeah, you're
now,
Captain
like,
America.
Yeah,
go
you're
Joe,
Captain
and
America
then it
now.
cuts to
Like,
them
can
celebrating.
you pull that one guy out of the bottom of the river? And he's just obviously given this whole speech and been through a whole fight. And they're like, "Can you go do more?" And they say like, "Thanks for helping." And he says, "Always." But
Yeah.
yeah, he goes and there's one flag smasher who has apparently been now rescued.
Kind
by
of, David.
Sam.
Kind of.
Yeah, but
So
then it
there's
cuts to
got to
their
be like
celebration.
something to that. That's something that's going to come back in future at some
Kind of.
point. It seems probably.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, he is a superhuman, and if he's alive, that means he has some kind. Or I'm assuming that
Whose
Flag
whole team
Smasher is
was
superhuman.
killed, although
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the
yeah.
cause seems to be succeeding because the GRC agreed not to take this vote and to reevaluate. Like Sam made a pretty speech and everything, at least in the immediate sense, seems to be on a better track.
Yeah, but
But there is
that
this
guard on
one
the
dude
truck
out there.
says "One World, One People." Still,
There-
like a guy within the
there's this-
GRC.
Right.
Like the
There's
Flag
this-
Smasher idea still kind of is out there.
There's
you know?
this conversation in the chat right now that people think that I don't agree with this, but Sharon's gonna be involved in Armor Wars.
I've heard a lot of
Why
people
not?
say that.
Why
if she's
not?
got access to all these like black market weapons. and
Yeah, she
whatnot.
wants the
Yes.
weapons and all the the prototype stuff she said. And
I guess
that's-
there's
if
always the
Armor Wars
possibility
exploring-
she's still playing 4D chess, which is
right.
probably not that
I
likely
think
now.
that Sharon.
Nanomask.
I think that
In this,
Sharon is
she
playing
had that
normal
nanomask
3D
in this
chess.
episode, and
I think she's
significantly,
playing
that
like
is
8 million
Shield
D chess.
technology. That is the nanomask that she pulled off, and it's like,
Yeah.
ooh, it's Sharon.
Yeah.
I
That
think
is
that's power
Shield's tech.
broker technology.
That well, no,
Well,
I
no,
mean,
that's
in
from the
the
Winter
MCU,
Soldier.
we already know it's Shield
Yeah.
tech. It
Yeah,
premiered
Shield
in
tech.
Winter Soldier. That's how
Well,
Black
I mean,
Widow
but
got
Shield
into
doesn't
the
exist
UN.
anymore. I'm just saying someone with a lot of money, wealth, and influence in Madripoor could probably get their hands on that.
Sure,
advanced tech.
sure, but
Right.
I'm pointing it out for the sake of argument that we've seen it twice in the MCU. We've seen it in Winter Soldier on Black Widow
And
when
on-
she
in
infiltrated
Bucky
the
in,
UN and they
Civil War,
killed
or Zemo rather.
they got rid of Robert Redford, and then it was a really significant prop in Agents of Shield.
Oh, I was thinking in Civil War, because Zemo uses.
Which
I don't
Whichever
think it
one
disguises-
matters though. It's just a prop that we've
Civil
seen
War.
before. Like I don't
Zemo-
think
It's a prop that
Zemo
we've seen,
uses
and
it.
we know who
Zemo
created
uses it to
it.
disguise himself
if you
as the
look-
Winter Soldier to
If
frame
you look
Bucky.
this up, like it was created by Shield, like that is Shield proprietary technology.
okay, but therefore
So-
what though? So what?
Yeah, like
it's-
Shield's gone.
I don't know.
No,
don't-
Shield's never gone as long as Nick Fury's around, and
I don't know. I think it's
Agents of
different.
Shield
Shield's
tied
in
up
space,
that
man.
storyline, but Phil Coulson's
With
still out
Steve
there, and we
Rogers.
know he's coming
Well,
back.
he is coming back, so yeah.
Phil
that's-
Coulson and Daisy Johnson are coming back into
Yes.
the MCU.
Oh yeah, we
and
got
and Secret
Nick
Invasion.
Fury is still around.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think we're
Cloak.
I think we're overcomplicating the relationships between these characters.
I agree.
The way that they're going to integrate into the story.
I don't know, man.
I don't-
Yeah.
That's just
I'm
my
not-
take, though.
I didn't vibe with Sharon at all. So no, I mean like I don't know where she's
This
gonna
is, this is
fall
Kevin
in.
Feige. This is Kevin
didn't
Feige.
feel-
we're
you
talking
didn't feel
about.
her
Think of the
vibe,
last
Johnny?
10
No,
years
you're
of
right.
content.
I think it was all. I think her was like her kind of thing was just like kind of the most rushed and kind of confusing.
Yeah, it was a little like sort of like crazy out of nowhere.
Yeah.
and, like,
Think
a
of
complete
WandaVision,
oddity.
guys. Think of WandaVision. The MCU takes its time. It's slow. It's never like too unexpected. I don't know if all this stuff is gonna materialize like we think it's.
Yeah. I know. I
For
agree.
the record, Nate Moore, who is like a big head of Marvel Studios, once again this week he confirmed yet again WandaVision one and done, that
The Falcon Winter
particular plotline's
Soldier.
done. But he name checked. This is the second time because Kevin Feige did the same thing. He name checked Loki and Falcon and the Winter Soldier as
Captain
like
America and
we're
the
gonna
Winter
do future
Yeah.
seasons of those. So like
We want to see
these-
Captain
this
America and the
plotline
White
is
Wolf.
coming back. Yeah, exactly.
We haven't talked about this, but there's a movie. Oh, I guess
Yeah.
we kind of talked about it, but
Yeah,
there's
Captain America 4, you mean?
Captain America
Before.
4 movie.
yeah.
That wouldn't be
And
for a
that's
couple
gonna be
years
like
at
a
least,
direct
right?
Right, but and the
continuation,
show.
and
so
then
just,
yeah, so but yet it's like two different Marvel executives have now name
Yeah.
dropped those same two shows, being like they're coming back, folks. There'll
Speaking
be
of White
more.
Wolf, you know, we've been talking about how like we wanted to see Bucky continue on in like the Wakanda storyline and like see more of that. But also they did make a point to show Bucky interacting with Sam's family and community and like looking like he was getting very comfortable there too.
Well, also,
so-
did I miss something in 2 episodes ago when he last sees the Dora Milaje, and he's like, doesn't he ask them for a favor, or they ask
Yeah.
him for a favor?
Yeah, he
To
asked
get
him for a
Sam's
favor,
suit.
which is Sam's suit.
It was to bring
Oh,
Sam's
oh.
suit to him.
And then,
Of course.
but then,
All right.
one of I don't remember which particular warrior it was, but they
Io.
said, was it Io? They say, don't catch yourself in Wakanda.
Yeah, keep
anytime
it
sooner.
scarce
keep
in
it
Wakanda.
scarce.
Yeah.
Keep it scarce. Stay scarce.
But
So
it's Bucky. I can totally see him being like, I need them, and like they're clearly like more. No, I don't want to say more than friends, like in a relationship, but they have a very strong bond. And I can see if he came back and he was like, I'm really in some
Black
deep
Panther
shit.
too. He could be a
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Where
there's a
like
Wakanda show happening as well.
either they
I don't
really
know.
need
Does it
him or he
serve
needs
his?
them.
Does it serve either his story or theirs from a narrative standpoint? I don't know if we need more. Like we saw sort of his evolution in the course of this show, and he is like more or less self-sufficient in the modern world.
Well, what's
now.
next for him then? What do we think his
Right.
next story? Like I personally don't think his arc is completely done just because like
Jaden, I don't think
it was
that's
so
gonna happen,
scarce
but-
at the end there. I mean, it probably is. It's just me personally. I saw that and was like, I feel like he still
I
has some more
think
work
that
to
there's
do.
more story to
But-
tell with Bucky, but his fight to stop being the Winter Soldier is over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, I don't think
That's
his
why I
arc
thought there was gonna be
is
a name
completely
change, and that's why I'm
done
really surprised.
Yeah,
just
I
because
agree.
When he
Yeah.
dropped
Jaden,
those
I don't
bullets,
think
it was
that's
so
gonna
Zemo,
scarce
man,
at the
that's
end
it.
Yeah,
there.
Yeah,
that
I'm
was
not
probably-
that guy. I'm not that guy.
Well,
Me
actually,
personally,
yeah, I
I
said
saw
the
that and was
moment
like, well, also when he has the
with-
chat
I
with
think
Sam
that
where
there's
he's like,
more story to tell.
well,
with
you were
it.
avenging.
It's
not
a
anyone.
lot of things. It's a lot of
Yeah,
things.
it's a build. That's the whole. It's
a
the
lot
whole
of
show, really. But
All in the
like, I
game's
don't know.
pointing out that in the comics, Io is gay, and I believe there was actually a plot line in Black Panther in the first movie that was like a gay plot line with Io and one of the other Dora Milaje that got cut just because they were trying to tackle too many things at once. But I'm pretty
I
sure.
don't, yeah,
that that was,
I never
like,
saw them as like a real romantic.
No,
I-
I'm pretty
I-
sure
I-
that was like originally a thing in Black Panther, and then it didn't make the cut. But we're still.
Oh,
probably
I
need to
mean,
understand that.
I mean, Io and Bucky.
yeah.
Like, I never saw them. I like it's fun to play around with. It's always fun to.
I want to
just, like,
shift gears for like 1 minute.
get
I
people.
completely forgot about this, but there was a rumor. I think it came out last week, and then David just mentioned it in the chat. There's a Wolverine anthology series. Possibly, it's rumored.
Oh,
rumored.
canon.
Yeah.
Rumored,
DMC.
but I think
I
it's
saw them
interesting.
like
Talk shit.
rumoring Carl Urban as a possible Wolverine, right?
Oh my
That would have rocked. dude.
Carl
That-
Urban's in the boys though. There's so
And
much.
he also
yeah.
plays
kinda
the he's in Thor too.
God. He's in
Yeah.
Thor.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's true.
Thor already,
Oh,
yeah.
that would've
Yeah.
worked.
He's
Yeah.
Scourge, right?
But his
Yeah.
character
Yeah.
dies, so hey.
True.
Let's get Johnny as Wolverine. I feel
Yeah,
like we could
Johnny.
push that.
I mean, you're the right height.
Wolverine's
Yeah.
supposed to be pretty small, right?
Yeah,
He's
he's
pretty, yeah, he's
short.
smaller. He's
Yeah.
like 5'7".
Yeah, I'm like
Johnny's
5'7".
like 4'2", aren't you?
Yeah. Johnny.
Nope.
Johnny's Meeper Gascon height.
Dude, that would be sick.
It all ties back to Meeber.
All
Always back
ties
to
back to
Meeper.
Meeber.
Well, I mean, as Marvel
Meeper's in
fans,
my
though,
heart.
we have a lot of content coming.
There was so much this year. I don't know if you
I
guys
want to talk about
realize how
Sam's
much
suit.
we're
I
getting
want to
this
get on
year.
Sam's suit. I
Yeah.
like Sam's suit.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Google's
I
Google's
love
goggles
this.
were kind of like at first I was like, all right, they look a little goofy.
Yeah, they're
But
a little bug.
he always kind of looked goofy with the goggles.
Yeah.
It was
Like,
a
I
little
don't
bit,
know.
yeah, like an insect.
I love the suit. So
It
much.
looked like it was straight out of a comic book.
It's definitely faithful to the imagery in the comics for sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
amazing.
I think it looks
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
so
I do
cool.
overall think it's a
I
solid.
cannot
suit.
wait for the
It looks
Marvel
really cool.
Legends.
And
all
they
that.
also
Probably
they
revealed on
definitely
Monday.
like there were specific like new gadgets that they showed. Like they showed him getting stuck underwater and then like rocketing out of the
Rocketing
water.
out, yeah.
So he has like he has like water
that part where he
underwater.
had when he did that like
abilities.
shoulder charge with the shield and like his ship
Yeah.
type of.
Yeah,
he-
oh, did
when
you
he
notice
dug
that?
his when he dug his wings in too?
Yeah.
Yes,
that was
yes,
sick.
I
Like, he,
loved
He
that.
covered himself with like the wings and the shield.
Well,
And
it's
then also-
he doesn't got
That
super
was sick.
strength, but he's got his own. Like he's still got his experience with.
He can hold his
like,
own
That's what
weight.
makes up
He's
for
good.
it almost.
Not
Yeah.
only is Red Wing back, but there were like multiple
Red Wing, I
little
said
Red
that,
Wings.
yeah.
There were like other little ones that like helped him lift
Yeah.
that
Red Wing
truck.
had
Yeah.
babies.
It's similar
Yeah.
to Iron Man. Iron Man had like if you remember in, like Spider-Man Homecoming during that boat scene. the ferry
I guess
scene,
Bucky
he had,
ordering the
those little
suit
rockets.
is
help
enough,
pull the
but I
boat.
would have liked to see Bucky like acknowledge Red Wing, be like, because it would have been
That's a
kind of a
good
character
point.
moment for them both, because he was like, I hate that thing,
Yeah.
and then it would have been
Oh,
nice to
yeah.
have.
And when
him.
Carly Carly destroyed Red Wing, he's like, I always wanted to do that or
That-
something like
I,
that.
I still think it's so funny when he's swatting at it in like the second episode.
Yeah.
Like I see that gif all the time. He's like trying to get it away from him.
It's not. I don't want to sound. I want the viewers to know that I really do love this show and the episode. But another point of criticism from me comes around for some reason the fights in this episode felt a really like light. I don't know about you guys,
Yeah.
but
yeah,
but specifically the Batroc,
Batroc, yeah.
Batroc and
Yeah.
Sam fight felt really like
It's like
and
you're
he-
gonna get Saint Pierre, like definitely like using
and he
like for
throws-
everything.
and he
yeah.
throws a
felt
full-
shoehorned in my
and he throws a
No,
folding
yeah,
chair
I
at the
agree,
shield.
Dylan.
That was like the weirdest.
yeah.
You-
It felt like it was
I was
tied
like,
up
what?
so quickly. It
WWE.
was kind of like, is that
was
all?
weird to me.
If-
Because it was
if-
such a thing to
Oh,
reintroduce
when he
that
threw it?
character in the first place. Like
Yeah.
they made such a big deal of bringing that character
Yeah.
back into the show from the films at all, but then bringing him back, last episode. And then it was like, oh, they just dealt with him and he was no match for Sam, and like that's it. It did feel
No,
shoehorned, I
no, the
agree.
opposite actually. That showed that he actually hasn't been beaten in hand-to-hand combat because he's so good at like. Because Sam has to flee. Actually, he has
Yeah.
something. He has to go out the other something else. But like
Sharon had to shoot him.
Yeah, Sam had to shoot
You
him.
can't
Yeah,
beat him
that's
in
true.
a
You
fist
can't beat
fight.
him in fist
But
fight.
it just felt like
Yeah.
it got like it just ended so abruptly. I don't know if that's another issue of just having had to cut things back or rearrange
Yeah,
storylines, but it felt like they made such a big deal about bringing him
My
in,
issue
and it
wasn't
didn't end up
necessarily
being
his placement in the
consequential.
narrative, but I just felt the fight itself was weak. And then later on when Bucky punches the Flag Smasher with his vibranium arm, like it was like a really meaty hit. And then the Flag Smasher hits like this chain link fence, and it's like the weakest
Yeah.
like
little thing.
and I was
Right.
like, it was a weird like
action was
Did you
good.
guys
I don't know.
notice how when Sam showed up and like right after where Bucky like catches that like rod that Karli throws,
I was
or like
sweet.
anyway, he
That was
takes
sick.
them out with the shield in the exact same way he was practicing with it in Louisiana, like bouncing
Yeah,
it
yeah,
off of the
bouncing,
trees. Yeah, and I thought
Dude,
that was
that
funny.
part where's the helicopter where he did this like roll and he threw the shield and then bashed
Yeah.
through the. Oh,
Remember
that was so sick. I loved all that stuff.
There was,
One of
there
the
was
Flag
some good
Smashers
stuff.
has the like the toll thing, or like the parking toll meter, I think, or they have some kind of pole and they're smashing it.
Yeah, it was a
Good
parking
stuff.
meter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good stuff. So like there was some really good stuff, but I just thought there was some really weird,
Right.
weak fight
The-
choreography.
And John Shields is getting
destroyed.
Oh, the little like
massacred.
tinfoil shield.
Yeah.
It was all beat up.
shield.
So
But then he
I'm
looks and he
confused.
sees his like Medal of Honor and he's inspired again.
So Val says in the last episode, like technically the government doesn't really own it. Which did she like mean like the copyright, like how the shield looked? Or because it didn't seem like he was gonna like he had plans to take the shield back. Like it's just weird that they even threw
Yeah,
that.
well, as
line
we've
in there.
learned, like vibranium is like $1 billion a pound. Like, so that
Yeah.
shield is like insanely valuable. Yeah.
Right.
I think it was
Yeah.
Steve's, and then because Steve like owned it and he gave it to someone else, I think technically the
Right.
rights.
I think
and
the
then
provenance of that was that Howard Stark
Howard
built it.
Stark built
Yeah,
so it
he
was
stole
some
it to
I
begin
don't know
with.
what the actual like chain of command is there, because Howard Stark was contracting for the US Army at that time. So
Right.
does it belong to Stark Technologies? Does it belong to the US Army originally, like World War II? Unclear. But then I think definitively like that's Steve.
One of the greatest moments in the MCU is
2011.
when Tony says, you know, my dad built that shield.
Yeah, you don't deserve
Steve,
it.
And Steve drops it. Oh,
He
Yeah.
throws
God,
it. Yeah.
It does belong
so-
to Wakanda technically though.
Yeah,
And then also
Wakanda.
the Dora Milaje, we see like her step on it and do that move where it like flips up.
Oh,
and we saw
they know.
Sam did that move in this episode.
Yeah.
And it was very like, oh yeah, that comes from Wakanda, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On a baby.
Did you also notice that like the shield is like it's like magnetized to his back so he can kind of just like zip,
Yeah.
and it like
Yeah.
yeah, I
Yeah,
thought that was
Steve
pretty
had that
cool.
as well. But
Yeah.
it's
Steve
yeah.
had
it-
that, yeah.
I love the
had,
look of the
like,
shield on the back.
overwhelming emotions when Sam first like dips into frame and you see the suit. Like I had so many like
Chills.
feelings in my
Got
heart.
chills.
Like I
It's
just
interesting
really,
because people online seem
Ugh.
to not be loving the way he was introduced.
I felt that when he said, "I'm Captain America," when they asked, "Who are you?" and he just casually
Yeah,
says,
yeah,
"I'm
that was
Captain
crazy.
America." I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh,
yeah.
gives me chills."
I-
just
He
thinking
says it
about
proudly.
Yeah,
We
proudly.
Yeah.
cheered at that moment, both of us. Like it really
Yeah.
was.
I
It wasn't
applauded.
just the sight of him in the suit or the design of the suit.
It was
Like
him
we can
owning it.
talk about the yeah, it was him owning it and inhabiting it and treating that shield as his own and like
Yeah.
fully commanding that character. It was just so powerful.
Well,
And
he
then
got-
you get
I mean,
that
think
scene of
about the
those
purpose.
bystanders being like, "That's the Black Falcon." He's like, "No, it's not. That's
No, it's not.
Captain
It's
And it's the
America."
guy's
America.
grandpa. It's the guy's grandpa because the kid is like, "My grandpa says it's Black Falcon," and then
Right.
the character
Yeah.
was like an older black man, and I was like, "Ah, it's the kid's grandpa."
Black Falcon.
That's the Black Falcon. Oh man, it's Captain
Yeah.
America.
But it's Captain America.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Patriot or Eli Bradley also says like, "What you want, Black Falcon?" Like,
Yeah.
so
It's
it's-
obviously
he
something
seems-
that's like a
He's
nickname he's
coming.
been
He's
given
coming.
within.
He's had a
Right.
bit
I
of a
don't know, the
character
Black
growth,
community,
like
but-
very subtly. Like
Yeah.
he's like
True.
he seemed very enthusiastic
he's
to
a
like
young
see
Avenger.
Sam sort of at the
Yeah.
end there.
yeah.
Eli, I mean,
He's
Yeah.
Patriot.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
Jaden's
wonder,
pointing
like,
out that those wings are like vibranium shields in and of themselves. Reminded me a bit of like that armor that Wonder Woman got in the second Wonder
yeah.
Woman movie. Did you see that
Yeah.
the gold
Think
armor?
about-
She had those like wings
The
that
gold
folded.
eagle
Think about how much of
closed.
a favor that is. Bucky's like, hey, can you make me a
Make a
multi-billion
Wakanda's-
dollar,
Right.
trillion dollar suit? And she's like,
Vibranium.
yeah, all
That's
right.
like chump change to T'Challa, though.
Do we know? I don't
Yeah.
know. Do we know?
They got-
I don't
they
know
got
if that was like
a lot
a
of it.
favor to Bucky. Wakanda might have taken that on themselves. Mike and I talked about this at some point. I think last week maybe. But one of the like really beautiful things, one of the many beautiful things about Black Panther, was how they really created a narrative link between Black liberation movements in the United States and African nationalism. And they did that in a clever way that also made sense in the scope of the story. But they obviously, from like the history we learned from Black Panther, like about Killmonger's father and like the Bay Area, like Black liberation groups from previous generations, it seems that they do actually have this like African diaspora sort of this larger world. Wakanda had been so self-segregated and like in its literal bubble and closed off from the world to protect its own resources, but it seems that they do have more of a global reach now, and that there is more of a connection.
Well, then what do you think?
Well,
the
yeah,
favor was?
A diasporic connection, and it's entirely possible that Wakanda was just like this, African American man is now a symbol not only for America but for the world, and let's give him a nice set of toys.
What do you think Bucky's favor is going to be then?
The suit.
No, I think it's a suit, but Jenny.
Did he actually say I need a favor?
Yeah,
he
he
said,
says, I need one more favor.
Yeah,
And
and
I'm
I didn't put it
Aw.
together because I got a pea-sized brain that it was the suit.
Yes, the suit.
Pea
That's
brain.
what I was saying. I was like, that's a hell of a favor.
Pea
Just ask
brain
your
boy.
friend,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
hey,
that
can you
is
give
a
me, like,
big
couple
favor.
$1 billion.
People were
But I
pointing
think
out
my
that the
point
box
still holds.
itself is
Wakanda
probably
may
a
have been
favor.
happy to
Yeah, the
provide
box
that.
is pretty crazy.
Wakanda might have been happy to provide that favor. Like clearly they have the
100%, yeah.
vibranium to spare, and I mean
They
it's
have
a
a they have a
really
little bit.
important. It's
Yeah.
a really important symbol for like
Could have spent some of that money
marginalized
on
groups
the final
worldwide
fight
to see
in Black
to see a
Panther.
black man
Nice.
playing Captain America, being Captain America. That's good for everybody.
Mhm.
I think they should have spent some of that vibranium money on the CGI in the final fight between Killmonger and T'Challa.
The PS2
Yeah.
looking
And
black
Black Panther.
background.
The
Well,
PS2.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
hilarious.
that fight's a little rough. It's
Yeah.
like you got two
It
characters.
was rushed. It was
in
rushed.
black
That's what it
suits
was.
with a dark background. It's like
Yeah.
it felt like the Venom fight. I know I'm tread lightly because we got some Venom fans here, but the Venom fight between Venom and whoever the other guy was.
Riz Ahmed, one of my favorite actors in the
Modi
universe.
Wright,
Yeah, no,
man.
he
Oscar
did good as the role,
nominee.
but that fight was just like you can't.
Jenny,
even
have you seen
tell what's
Sound of
going
Metal?
on.
Yes.
Yeah, they filmed it actually in my town.
I'm a SAG member. I vote for SAG Awards, and I like proudly
Cool.
dropped my vote
Cool.
for
Yeah.
Riz Ahmed in that film.
Cool.
That
I
was
know.
He was
insane.
great. He was
I'm
so
a big
good.
CG animation guy, so when it's bad, it really hits me, especially for multi-million-dollar productions.
Well, no, that scene was rushed though. That CGI fight.
How about
scene,
those
that,
rhinos too?
that was a rush product. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, also,
Rhinos
the
look
Black
fun.
Panther fight was like apparently they had like a very small amount of
They
time.
had a
to
small,
get it
yeah,
done.
they had a
Yeah.
small amount of time.
Most of that
It's
movie
like-
though, excellent.
No, oh yeah, 100%. It's
Yeah.
just like I don't know, PS2 cuts
Little
to
bit.
that fight.
Do you guys think maybe that the 6 episodes that we had for Falcon and Winter Soldier is due to them, like when they first started this, they didn't necessarily expect it to be as popular or as big as it eventually became? And then,
It
like,
is
if
funny.
they had known that ahead of time, they would have given it the 9 that WandaVision had.
It is funny
No.
because before,
Well, you gotta
like,
think about
I
it
had
with-
conversations where it was like, really, these characters? Like, I don't like.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's like
And
like,
it
what are we
turned
gonna,
out to,
what
like,
kind of
blow us
story are we
all
gonna tell?
away.
And it turned out I like personally. I know it's comparing apples to oranges. I thought, and this only can make negative things, but I liked it more than WandaVision. I thought
No,
it-
same
I
here,
thought it
same
was
here,
more
so
good
did
than
we.
WandaVision.
Yeah.
Part of the thing about the 9 episodes, Mike, is that
They are
all of
such
these
different beasts,
Disney
though.
Plus series
Yes, no, it's
were
true.
planned to have like 6 hours ish of
Yeah.
screen time.
Yeah.
And
WandaVision
with
was shorter
WandaVision, the only
episodes.
reason it has more is because they were sticking
Episodes.
to
Shorter
sitcom
episodes,
format.
too.
Shorter
Yeah.
episodes, yeah.
So
I
they
mean,
had to have like 22
the
minute
time
sitcom
equates.
episodes.
Yeah.
That's
And
true.
so they
yeah.
still had to
Also,
fit
I-
it in the 6 hours.
I go back to the way that most Marvel content has been crafted over the past, 10 to 15 years, which is, I think they think of these things pretty far in advance. I mean, you got to think. I mean, this show, especially because of COVID, was filming in like 2019. Like they had this thing scripted, and I know the virus subplot got cut, but like I think most of this stuff is pretty worked out a long time beforehand, and I think they probably went into
Yeah, like
it,
5
wrote-
years in advance.
They probably went into it, wrote a story. They had that story, and we're like, this is about 6 episodes worth of content. And I think you're absolutely right, Jenny. Where it's the about 6 hour window, and it just how that time is apportioned per an episode. And I think that just happens.
Yeah. Also, WandaVision definitely left us feeling a little frustrated for multiple reasons at the finale.
And I also think though they're just such a different.
And
beast
I don't feel
where-
frustrated at all after this show. I feel very
Where
satisfied.
WandaVision is
Parts of the show. I mean, like again, I wasn't not a big fan of the whole Sharon thing, but whatever.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
with Lavelle in the chat.
Yeah, I
we
mean,
got
I
Lavelle in the
loved
chat?
both of
Sorry.
them. I thought WandaVision.
Oh yeah, no, I
The
don't like.
chat has
broke
just
new
been
ground
just
in
totally
terms of
appropriated
format,
by
like-
Jenny lovers. Everyone is just like Jenny.
I love you guys too.
You got such a huge
No,
fan
both.
club. Jenny.
Okay, I think we can all say that we all enjoyed. Jesus Christ, we
Yeah.
all enjoyed the shows together. We all liked them. They're all good. Both of them are really great. But
Yeah.
I don't know. It could be
And
fun
it is
to
so
just
much
be
apples and
like this.
oranges in so many
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah.
Like WandaVision was this exploration of format,
yeah.
which
Really
really
different kind of
was
show.
extremely innovative and self-referential, but in a clever way. And we got to see so many of our favorite side characters like Wu and Darcy get like more screen time, which
yeah.
they richly just like people had been mentioning. Like I would watch a series of just Monica Rambeau and Agent Wu solving crimes, like the X-Files. And I was
X-Files,
like,
yeah.
I would watch that show. I would watch that show.
Yep.
But you know, there were so many things to be said for it. It was completely different. This one just really hit because it was enjoyable to watch. It had like
But the
fight
messages and the
scenes
themes.
costumes,
by
but the
the theme
messages and
man.
the theme. And because they did shoot this in like 2019, obviously several of the central themes are evergreen or always
Mhm.
relevant, like treat other people like humans, even if you're at odds with them. Evergreen message, but they could not possibly have known how like eerily specific a lot of their plot lines would be to the news that we see.
That's happened with a lot of content over the
Yeah.
years.
Well, no, I
You
think
know,
this is why is the perfect
the fact
time
that they
to
had
release
to
a show
cut
like
this huge virus subplot apparently at like great expense to they cut a lot of story out apparently with this virus subplot, which completely they had to do. But again, it's sort of like eerily prescient how much they foresaw, like not how generally relevant, but how like specifically scarily relevant it was for us. And I think it was a well-told story, well acted, like beautifully designed, gave us lots of stuff to root for and lots of stuff to wonder about. But I think it hits us so hard because like it's speaking to these anxieties we have about the world
Yeah,
around us.
I
like,
think what
right
impressed
now.
me about this show so much is that like, you know, they did take an entire subplot out and yet like the show flowed like so well. And the how it wrapped up was so satisfying.
Well, it also just
Like,
had so much to say,
it
so
just
much
hit
more
it
than I expected from
messages,
a Falcon
yeah.
and Winter Soldier
Yeah.
show. Like in
especially
every
from
front.
the making Sam Captain America storyline
Yeah.
in general. Just that alone, we're coming out of this like we say Captain America now, we mean Sam Wilson. That's what
Yeah.
we're
Glad
talking
That's what we
took
about.
their
mean
time with
now. It's a
Yeah.
huge deal.
That's a
I'm
huge
happy
deal.
to say that,
Huge
and I'm glad
deal.
it wasn't
Not
rushed.
only because like of what that represents and the fact that like America had to be ready for a Black Captain America, but because we all love Chris Evans specifically, one of the last unproblematic white men in Hollywood, like really embodied that character. We love him, and like he was so
Beantown,
good, and so getting
represent.
over that on like a personal level is also a
Yeah.
challenge, and they really did bring us there. They used the show to get us all there.
I love what Jaden said. He said, and soon everyone will be comparing Falcon the Winter Soldier and WandaVision to Loki, which, you know,
No,
is
it's,
true.
think it's going
I
to be
think
the
it's just the
superior
nature
show.
of how it is. Like
Yeah.
I
I
can't help myself
enjoyed-
when I'm like I like one more. Like
Dude,
Sean and
another,
I-
I'd like to say though, I feel like we got all these crazy expectations for WandaVision that didn't end up panning out, which is one of the main sources of our understandable frustration with it. But then, like, that kind of kept us in check.
Well,
I was talking
We
to
were-
John about this.
no,
I was talking to John
we
about this,
talked
Mike.
about
There were like expectations like Mephisto that I think
Yeah.
were not met. That's on us. Ralph Boner is
set things
totally
We
up.
on
talked
them.
about this.
Yes,
Well,
we
Falcon
have
and
a
Winter
guys aren't
Soldier
there
was
yet.
already setting less expectations in that
Yes.
regard to begin with, but then we came into it
Yes.
having checked
Having
expectations.
had the Ralph Boner
and that
experience.
definitely helped. Yeah, but I think now that we have this, like, we've had 2 series now where we're like, we kind of feel like we know what to expect now.
I
We're
think
going to
Loki's
go into
blow-
Loki and
blown
be
away.
totally,
We're
like,
gonna be
taking.
blown
Yeah.
away.
Loki's going to totally
Anything
screw
is
with us.
possible. They have
I-
access
I
to,
just
like,
got to be
all
the
of
world
time.
changing. Like these were very down to earth, like one off, like stories for each other. Loki's about to be like the MCU, like changing, world
It's
changing.
literally
Well,
exploring
I like-
alternate
Yeah.
timelines.
Exactly.
I think
Which
it's
is
gonna be
where
my
we're
favorite
going
show.
with Doctor Strange.
They've
Loki's gonna be my favorite
confirmed
one.
that it's going to be at least 6 different time periods,
Right.
which is going to be a
Nice.
like an audio visual feast for starters.
Yes.
That's
That's gonna give
I'm
them
with
so
Jenny.
much to
I'm
play
100% with
with.
Jenny. John and I were talking about this the other day because we were talking about Star Wars, but in relation to these new Marvel
Always
shows
talking
and
about
like
Star Wars.
the realism of Falcon and Winter Soldier and what it has to say.
That's
and
what compels me the most.
And
I
I
like
think it is compelling, and I
Yeah.
really enjoy it. And I think as a package,
that's
it
a
really
story
does
that I
well.
like the most.
But what Loki is going to present to me from like just a like narrative and filmmaking point of view from all of the different things like are going to implement, like just the scene alone in the trailer where Loki says he like the guy at the desk is like sign for every word you have ever said.
So
Like
funny.
that
Yeah.
alone is like just like the concept, like some of the concepts you can play with in this like kind of show are just so much fun. And it's just really
Yeah.
fun to I think I think it's gonna be a great show.
It's going to
I
be
think it's
like
gonna be
deep
Yeah.
Easter eggs.
I love that part of that
throughout.
trailer
It's
too,
gonna give
because
us
you
so
think of
much to
Loki.
play with.
Loki is like a character who's pretty much seen it all. The guy is literally like thousands of years old, right?
Yeah.
And you'd think that it would be hard to get that expression of like on Loki's face to be like,
Just,
wow,
the,
like
the
even
set design of something
even
like
Loki
the
is blown
TVA,
away.
where
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
all
wait,
these different
Levi,
time
I think
periods.
you weren't here yet the week we
So
talked
amazing.
about that trailer, right? I
No, I
literally
don't
did
believe
like
so.
a little art history lesson in the middle of the.
It's
Yeah,
gorgeous.
like,
Oh
there was-
yeah.
There was
It's
a statue
gorgeous.
that is like a very direct reference to a sundial. It's a clock that exists at
Yeah.
Griffith Park Observatory
Mhm.
in LA, and there were a couple other like visual references just within the scope of the trailer. I was like, I know what that is, and I feel like we're gonna get that's
Restore
we
the
only got a
boner
little
cut?
taste
No.
in the trailer, and there's gonna be so much more of that, and there's gonna be so much referentiality.
And yeah, and part of
You
that is
know?
it doesn't even have
Guys
to do
are
with
crazy.
the construction of the creators, but in the nature, in the like the construct of the narrative of the show is the time variance authority has to connect to every time period.
Yes.
And so all of these different like designs have to be integrated into one thing. And like that's why you have like a fax machine and this old computer and this
Yeah.
really advanced technology. And like that just
Yeah.
that design is so compelling to me. Like I just think it's gonna
I'm
be so much
sorry. David Yao
100%.
just said we got bonered with a
Yeah, we
smoke.
did.
I know.
It's true.
So wait a minute,
But
Loki.
the thing that Levi
Yes.
just said, Mike had made the same point in one of our earlier streams, was that going down like the Mephisto rabbit hole, that was like 100% online conspiracy mongering.
Wow.
But that like that was on us. But what Levi just said,
Wow.
Mike
I
made
don't
the
agree
exact
with
same
that.
point. But with the Ralph Boner thing, like they
That's
gave
on
it
them.
to us, like
Yeah.
they played us. They
Evan
played it
Peters.
direct to
Evan
us.
Peters. That's 100%. That you're
Yeah,
gonna
There
that
were so many
wasn't like
references to the
fans
devil
being
in the
crazy.
show.
That was like us working with
So.
the information they gave us
Yeah.
deliberately.
We also hadn't
Yeah.
had Marvel for
Everything.
like 2 years or whatever, so we
That
were all just
starved.
like bursting at the
Ready and
seams with
raring to
like our
go,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want to get into it, but I mean, for the Mephisto
But
stuff,
get
there
into
was
it,
a
John,
lot
but
of
get into it.
there was
Let's
a
get
lot of
into it.
references to like.
Well, I mean, also like
Well,
they like. I mean, I keep bringing this up, but it's like they were like Luke Skywalker level thing, and they also got
Paul Bettany.
what's his name?
Paul Bettany.
Paul Bettany, like
Yeah.
and I know
Joking.
they
I
both
like
ended up
Paul
having.
Bettany
That I
thing,
wasn't
that was a little
surprised. That
mean.
was
I like
but
no, I like it too, but it's like you can.
I called that
understand,
like 2
why
weeks
that
in
would-
advance,
Yeah, we
though. I was
called
like,
that.
the
That was
minute
fine.
we
You did,
found out
yeah.
White Vision was there, I was like, Paul Bettany
Yeah.
was talking about himself. Like,
Yeah.
immediately,
Okay,
I
so-
was like, I get it now.
Wait a minute, just
Yeah.
a little time check. It's 4:15 for us right now, so we want to like maybe if we're going to talk about some Star Wars stuff, we
Yeah.
can go
Yeah,
into. I want
okay.
actually speaking of Loki. Loki's coming out like is it June 11th? Is it?
June
11th.
11th.
Yeah. Okay. So like
Wow,
and
Bad Batch
from
sharing.
from what we know,
I
Bad
know.
Batch
Oh, it's
is
gonna
at
be
least
so-
14 episodes, right? Levi.
Yes.
John?
Yeah.
Okay. So does that mean then that Bad Batch is going to be going like
Yes.
into July?
Yeah.
Yeah.
3
at
months
least.
worth of Bad Batch at least. So like
Uh-huh.
there's going to
At
be
minimum, yeah.
Loki and Bad Batch are going to overlap with each
Overlap.
other then.
Yeah.
And is that are they both going to be Friday drops?
I believe
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna have a tough
Oh, that's
time.
a lot of
on it.
reaction.
Oh, that's a lot of reaction.
Johnny
yeah.
was like, "Oh, I might miss an episode of Bad Batch. Like, I'm gonna be away." I was like, "Dude, we have
Yeah,
like
I'm gonna,
3
like-
months of
yeah.
Bad Batch that
yeah.
like we're gonna
I don't know.
have." so
Well, I
would-
do want to I know that there's some Bad Batch leaks.
False.
Some pretty,
Break
some
them
pretty
down.
significant.
They're
I don't-
incorrect.
Yeah.
They're incorrect.
Well,
they
no,
are.
not-
They are
not that picture,
verified.
Not the picture. Not the
The
picture.
picture can
picture-
totally be fake.
The picture is verifiably faked. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
but the storyline leak is not real.
Okay.
Okay. Well, okay.
I don't
here's
want to
my
talk about leaks anyway, so it's okay. Like I was gonna say, we don't need to talk about.
Well, here's my take
the
on it
specific
before, just
leak,
for the
but-
viewers, to give context. So there was a leak about a plausible plot line in Bad Batch using a photoshopped image from someone on 4chan, I believe is
yeah.
the platform. However, the leak in question, what it was referring to was something that is very plausible and could very much still be in the show, and is not like for me, I'm very conflicted on it. Like I think it is.
I think it's gonna happen.
Yeah,
but
we don't
I
have
think
to
it could
speak about that specific leak, but we can talk about like how you felt about it. And because I don't know if you remember what I was saying last week in our Bad Batch discussion, Levi. But one of the things I said last week was like, oh, like I want to see Rex and Cody interact, but I feel like because this is Bad Batch, they might not prioritize those kind of
Mike,
things.
Rex is in it though. Rex is in
No,
it.
no, I know, but this leak isn't necessarily specifically that, but it basically played to my like desire to see that kind of thing, and I
Yeah.
loved I don't want to like talk about the
Almost
leak right
season
now and
8.
talk any spoilers, even if
Did
it's
you
not real.
read
But
the like sort of scene description?
but what I was saying, I want to see out of the Bad Batch last week. I feel like this leak
That's there.
was.
That's
I was
there.
like, oh, that's what I
Yes.
want to
And-
see.
Well,
It played
reading
into what
that
you
kind of opened up the like. Again, I'm not gonna say any names, but that totally opened up like, oh, we could explore these other characters that aren't necessarily.
But the problem is,
totally
there are
connected to
so many elements of something of like some of the stuff in there is verifiably true. Like we will be going to a planet referenced in the leak. Like some of the
Yeah.
No, yeah,
characters
yeah.
referenced in the leak will be in the show, and
Yeah.
how they interact with the show. And it's like,
Well, the way that leak was described, like I said, I'm not going to go specifics, but that sounded awesome to me. That sounded
so
I
it
like
didn't
could
read
be
it 'cause
so
I didn't want to
true.
get spoiled.
It was
I thought
brutal.
real.
It was like that is not a kid's show.
Should I read it? Because I haven't read it yet.
I mean, it could.
what
be
the
fit,
the,
like-
the potential.
I haven't read it
because
because Levi sent
Yeah.
it to me, and I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to read it.
I
want to
mean,
see
it's-
Chaz.
I don't feel spoiled by it. I got excited
neither.
by hearing it
But
because
also,
what I was saying,
we
it
see
made
stuff
me
like that. Like that
Mike,
can
I
just
don't know
be
if we're
cast
thinking about
aside
the
as a
same thing.
rumor. It's not. There's like
layers
that,
to it.
text on a screen is never like really confirmed unless it's
we
from,
are
like,
we're
a
talking about
super
this. You
valuable
were
source.
asking if we're talking about the same thing, Levi.
well, okay, so there is an image, like a
Well,
leaked
that image, yeah,
and
that
then,
image.
then there was a scene description of
Literally, people. If you can read into that image, you're going way too. Like it's literally just an image of two people. It's nothing.
and
you
but
can
I'm
read
saying, and then
into.
there was a scene description.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the
that scene
post of
description
that.
is what I'm
Yeah.
talking about.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I mean, so we're not just speaking in code for our viewers. There is a real, like, verifiable leak about Crosshair. If we want to go into that, I'm not sure how far we went into that last week.
Yeah, that we can talk
Um,
about.
But
Oh, you mean the one like the verified, like the whole? Just
Yes.
we've been talking about that you can tell from the trailer that Crosshair
yeah,
is
Crosshair's,
like
Yeah.
Crosshair's gonna be
separate
the
from
bad
the
guy.
rest of them
Didn't
and
surprise
is
me though.
going to be an antagonist that is going to be.
But that's now
trying to-
that's now 100% confirmed.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah.
You're not spoiling anything by saying like the general storyline here is that some clones have defected and some haven't,
Gonna go
and
bye
the
bye
ones
from the Empire.
the
and
ones that
something
are
to
still
say.
associated with the Empire are going to be hunting down the ones that have
Yes.
defected.
And
that's-
specifically how Crosshair tied into the leak. From
But the
last
reason I
night.
like that leak, Levi, is because that specific character. I don't want to like spoil anything, but like that's a clone
Can I
that we
read
know.
it?
Yeah.
It's a defected clone from.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mentioned in my
like,
Bad Batch video. I'm like, I hope we see this. Like, I mean, it's a very brief. Like,
do
I
we?
wanna see this
It's
guy,
hard.
but-
It's so hard to talk about the stuff without
Yeah,
getting
chat.
specific.
Let's ask the
but,
chat. Yeah, chat. Do you want us to just talk about it?
Yeah. Do you guys want leaks? Say
Well,
one for
I don't-
one for yes.
even
two
when
for
you
no.
give a spoiler warning on a live stream, it doesn't stop someone from like coming in after you've given the spoiler
It's
warning.
true,
on
Levi,
the
it's true.
stream.
Levi,
So I don't.
is the description on the Reddit page or is it on something else?
I
Yeah,
believe-
everything got deleted. I'll send it
You
to
know what? Honestly,
Oh,
the leak involves a character that most people don't know who it is. If I just
It's
say the
kind of
character's name.
obscure.
Yeah,
I mean,
I
not
didn't-
like
I didn't
for
read it.
like.
John,
It's
I
not
sent it
very.
to you.
It's not very obscure,
Okay.
but it's like
You sent it to me? Oh, okay.
I don't know how to explain it.
So wait, how did this get debunked? May I ask? 'Cause I don't know.
Someone-
Words on a screen doesn't mean
someone-
it's real.
No,
Anything
someone-
associated with 4chan should just automatically be considered.
Someone
BS.
showed reference photos of the two characters of where they were photoshopped from, and now
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Even
someone-
though that one character is never seen without their helmet, basically.
that's not true. It's from 7. It's
Oh.
from season 7 episode.
Oh,
1.
it's
I
from
don't even-
season 7. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Alright.
mean, even the picture alone, I was hyped, but I didn't want to be like that's real because there's so many. One, there's very talented people out there that can just make that.
Yeah,
But
no
also,
leaks.
like,
I
there's a lot
agree,
of
Sean.
potential.
We're not going to talk about leaks, but I did say in the live stream last week, like one of the things I personally want to see is Rex and Cody interact. I don't care if
I do want to
there's-
see it. Yeah.
I want to.
I just want to
So
see that
is
interaction.
confirmed fake. I'm sorry. I need to make that clear. That was confirmed fake. The description.
Well, no, the image is confirmed fake. The
Yes.
description matched the image, but
Uh-huh.
because the image is confirmed fake, there's
How can
You're
you say
saying
the
that-
description matched the image when it was literally just an image of like,
no. I mean, like they came together. Like the person
They-
posted.
yeah.
The person
okay,
posted.
okay. They came from the same
both.
source.
They posted
okay.
it together.
All
in
right,
one
then I'm
photo.
not. Don't just take it with a grain of salt. It's not really.
But that would be crazy.
Yeah. Did you read the
Yeah.
description, John?
I just read it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay. That's a crazy,
Insane.
crazy.
Literal
Yeah.
chills.
Brutal.
Literal chills.
Yeah.
Bloody brutal.
I love Jenny in the center, just like, yes,
I know. I'm
know.
sorry, Jenny. I'm Jenny.
Absorbing information.
I'm a Star Wars.
My
I'm
gears
a
go
Clone War. I'm a
exploding.
Star Wars guy.
I'm a
I mean, apart from the
I
Clone
do
Wars,
Star
like
Wars.
I am, I just don't.
No,
I
no,
mean,
no. I'm not. And you
If I
read
do
the
your
Clone Wars, so
George
you would
Lucas
I
probably
read
you would
like
probably even know
very,
what we're talking
very
about.
intricate episode by episode description. So if you refer to stuff from the Clone Wars, I will probably know what you're talking about.
You
but
would.
like,
You,
yeah,
I think you
I've
would.
loved live action.
Can
you
we
actually
name the
proved last time. Someone said something. You're like, oh yeah, I know that, and I
Yeah,
and I told
Mike
you
was
about
like,
it, and I was
"Do
like,
you know who
okay,
Barasophi is?" And I was like, "Yes, I do."
yeah, and
Can
I was
we-
like, okay, reading the Clone Wars is.
Do you think we can say the character's name, guys, without having that be
I personally want to say, because I had already theorized this character.
because, like I
in it.
said, 90% of the people in the chat probably don't even know who the character
Wait,
is.
there's
Right?
two characters in this. So which one are we saying?
Hold
Well,
on,
it's
hold
also
on,
not-
hold on, hold on, hold
it's
on.
not
Before
true,
before
right?
we go on this whole thing where we're just speaking in code, before Dylan leaves, because I know he has to leave.
I have to leave too.
10
So
minutes,
Dylan and I
yeah.
are gonna leave together.
I saw a post on Reddit that's not like a leak or anything, but pointed out that within 10 days when Bad Batch starts, from now until like mid 2023, we will have Star Wars content every single week.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know.
yeah,
Think
yeah,
about-
yeah,
think
yeah,
about-
yeah, yeah,
think
yeah,
about
yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
A
yeah.
lot of
What
stuff coming.
what comes after Bad Batch?
Visions.
Vision.
And then Book of
Boba
Boba,
Fett.
and then
Oh,
Andor,
that's
and
what
then
I'm so
Kenobi, and
excited
then Mando
for.
season 3, and
All
then
right. So wait,
Ahsoka, and
what
then-
exactly is Visions again?
It's like an
Visions-
anime, like
anime-
short
Oh, that's
stories.
right.
Anthology,
That's right.
yeah.
Visions-
Sorry,
Oh.
Levi was
Visions-
about to give like a crazy in-depth thing, and I was just like anime, Star Wars.
Visions is a 10 episode anthology series, and each episode is a short film done by a different anime studio. And so we're getting a lot of different perspectives from
Awesome.
Japanese creators.
And then Book of
Wow.
Boba Fett's like
Yeah.
Christmas time, right?
Yeah.
Around-
That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
Perfect.
That was like by far my favorite storyline in.
How can you not be? Even after
Mandalorian,
Mando, it's just like
I'm
I
more
beautiful.
cried
Bad
so
Batch, though,
much
just because of the
during that
potential.
storyline.
And so
I
for
loved it.
mainstream viewers who don't read the comics and the books, which that sustains some of like me, like a more hardcore fan where I'm reading the comics each week, like there's going to be on-screen Star Wars content from like for the next 2 years.
Yeah.
Just-
Well,
gonna be awesome.
probably longer than
And,
that. but
and we
yeah.
also got that that Marvel comic run that's like
Yeah.
gonna
Well,
be huge.
before John and Dylan have to go, we got a couple casting announcements this week that were very
Good.
Oh,
exciting,
yeah.
both
Secret
within
Invasion.
and peripheral to the MCU.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So Khaleesi herself,
Yeah.
Amelia Clarke.
and Oscar
Oh.
winner Olivia Colman,
She's
who is
top
like
five.
the greatest actor in Britain. She's amazing. Have both been cast in Secret Invasion.
And a lot of
Alongside, like,
people
we
seem to
know
think
Ben
that they're both going to be
Mendelsohn is coming
Skrulls.
back as Talos. Like Talos
Oh,
and his
howdy.
wife are coming
Natural.
back,
Yeah.
and Nick Fury is confirmed. But we've got Amelia Clarke and Olivia Colman
I
added to
love
that
me some
cast.
Amelia Clark.
So we don't know who
Yeah.
they're playing or what they're gonna be, but we know that they're both present in the cast. And then the other one that I really want to point out, because I'm super psyched about this, they have cast Jensen Ackles for season 3 of The Boys. Jensen Ackles from
Oh, yeah,
Supernatural.
Yeah,
I am like hardcore SPN family.
yeah. that was a
love
while
it.
ago. They did
But
that. Like,
Jensen specifically, I love because he is
Is he
just
playing
like
Soldier Boy?
yeah.
he's playing Soldier Boy,
Soldier
which is
Boy.
like for anyone who's
Soldier
not familiar
Boy
with The
up in
Boys,
this-
it's a Captain America
Oh.
like World War
Ooh.
II kind of all
Evil Captain
American
America.
character. Like Jensen Ackles has like he has that voice and he's got like all the muscles, but he's
Soldier
also
Boy.
super willing to make fun of himself. He's got a great attitude. So I can't imagine anybody
Yeah,
else
for-
like more perfect.
For people who don't watch The
that
Boys,
role.
it's like if John Walker's conflicted, this is like actual evil.
This is
Yeah,
Evil John
yeah,
Walker.
It's like
yeah.
This
really
is
evil.
anti-cap. Yeah.
Yeah, this is an anti-cap, and
Yeah.
it's. I mean,
Watch
they
The
did
Boys
this
if you
sort
have
of
not.
Nazi storyline last season. During season 2, we had Stormfront, Aya Cash's
Yeah.
character, as being this like holdover literal Nazi.
Always goes
But
back to
now-
Nazis.
Wait, don't
Now
spoil it.
we're
Don't spoil it.
looking at
Don't
the other
spoil
side
it.
of
Don't
that.
spoil it for people who don't.
If you haven't seen
yeah,
the-
no, I mean, like it's a great show. if you
It's
haven't
hardly a
seen it.
spoiler. Like you'd probably forget about it if you just
It's very
started it.
graphic. It's like
be careful,
Japanese
that's all.
level graphic violence, but it is like it's a very good show. If anyone hasn't watched it, I recommend
watch
checking it
it.
out. Jensen Ackles, Dean Winchester himself is joining the cast. That was
Yeah.
cool.
So I'm just before we move on, and I gotta go. Like just Visions, like I think it's gonna be like obviously it's not gonna be anything canon, and it's not gonna be like.
I think it
any-
is.
No, it is canon.
Oh, it is canon stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, I just assumed.
Yeah,
I don't
it's-
think it's
not
gonna
like
be
it's
anything.
not like what
They're
if.
just gonna
You're
be like
confusing it with
one.
what
They're gonna
if.
be like one shot.
Okay.
They're gonna be like one
Okay,
shot.
yeah, yeah.
It's
I don't think it's gonna
yeah.
be anything too like huge, like gonna like start anything huge in the
No,
Star
no,
Wars
no, no, no,
universe.
no.
You know
Well,
what I mean?
Captain
But I just think,
Kennedy, in referencing it, said it spans the 25,000-year history of
Mhm.
Star Wars.
Okay, so it's going to
Ooh.
have like all timeline eras
Yes,
then.
which
It's
means
gonna
are
jump.
be
It's like
included. Could be
it's like
covering,
Black
Origin of
Mirror.
the
It's
Jedi.
like
Amazing.
Horizon. It's gonna jump.
I want to
around
see Ahsoka
wherever.
in anime style, just like going
crazy.
I
with, like,
think it's gonna be. Wait, Levi. I don't know if there's too much information on this, but is it going to be characters we already know? I thought a lot
It
of
could
it
be
was
whatever. It's whatever.
Yeah, it
Whatever
can
the
be.
particular character's take on Star Wars could be.
Dude,
if
I
it fits
love
in.
that.
Well, I thought it was gonna be new characters. That's what I was saying, but
It
okay.
could be, but it could be like, what if they're like, I want to tell a story
Both.
between
Could be
5
both,
and 6
yeah.
about
Yeah.
Luke Skywalker. Like
Yeah,
you could.
yeah.
they
This
could
would
do
never
that if they
happen,
wanted
but
to.
imagine if like Studio Ghibli somehow got involved. I mean, they
Oh,
wouldn't. They
yeah,
never. They
dude.
never were.
I
Like,
mean,
do
I don't know
stuff like that.
how-
but,
Maybe.
like,
Maybe they are. How you
No,
know?
I mean,
so
they-
that
I mean,
Totoro,
Disney-
make
Disney-
Totoro species
whatever
appear
they
in the
want.
Star
I know
Wars
that for
galaxy.
sure.
Confirmed.
I don't know if
Yeah.
you guys have seen it, but people make like the stills of Star Wars and Studio Ghibli style, and there's one of
Yes.
Rebels, and it's like the
Beautiful.
coolest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So cool, dude.
Oh, man,
Funny,
those-
Mike
yes,
and I were
I have
just
seen
talking
that.
about Studio Ghibli the other day.
Yeah, I watched Howl's Moving Castle the other night, and it
Great
really.
movie.
Beautiful.
Christian
Awesome
Bale.
movie.
Christian Bale is Hal.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't know until the credits.
Yeah,
and I
it's
was like,
Christian-
oh,
neither did I. I was
Well,
like,
in the
Christian
English dub, yeah.
yeah.
The English dubs though, they are always loaded casts.
Yeah, they
I
I
are.
always watch
Yeah.
Ghibli dubbed. I think they put a lot of effort into
Yeah, Howl's
making
Moving
sure
Castle
the
is
voices
definitely a
match.
great movie.
One of the like beautiful
And
movies.
Spirited Away is like definitely.
I'm a Princess Mononoke guy. That's
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that's my favorite one.
We used to
I'm
look
a
at
The
My
Wind
Neighbor
Rises
Totoro,
guy,
which
so-
is one of the like most bizarre movies ever made.
It's awesome.
I know this
Yeah.
is
So
Ghibli,
good.
but has anybody seen Akira or Akira?
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That
of course.
movie, I think, is overrated.
Akira.
That's my own personal
I
opinion.
don't agree
Really?
with you.
No,
Levi.
No, I agree.
Right?
It's overrated in terms of like not. It's
People
overrated. from
really
certain...
put that movie on a pedestal, and I
No,
think
because it's from you have to consider from like when it late 80s.
When it
dude,
came
like
out.
1988
Yeah.
basically. Like anime
Completely
is not
new.
a thing.
and
It's
it's
not.
still mind blowing now.
I mean,
In
the
the
animation
West.
is also just like.
I think the end
like-
is just
That's
like,
basically the
narratively,
original
it's
like
too much.
Western, like the movie that brought anime to the West, basically.
Yeah.
Right. Ghost in the
Yes.
Shell 2 is
Okay.
pretty big with that.
Oh,
I'm a way bigger fan of Ghost in the Shell. I think
Ghost in the
That's fair.
Shell
That's
was
fair.
94, I
Excellent.
believe, 95.
and
and
the
when you
show-
Not the live action remake though.
When
like,
you
right?
consider that movie
Yeah,
came
so
out like
the
remake
before
is
the
up
internet
against-
was like really prevalent, like that makes
Yeah, I don't know
Ghost
if
in
you
the
guys
Shell
have
even
seen
more like wow.
Standalone Complex, the show, the first like series of Ghost in the Shell. That's mid 2000s.
All new nerds are gonna have a boxing match.
Excellent. I love it.
Big Paul and
But Akira to
Mm.
me, I know this is totally off
We'll
topic.
live stream
Akira's
it.
not- Akira discussion, but for me, like
It's a weird movie. It is.
it's just it
weird.
gets so weird. The end just is too
It's
weird
fair,
for
it's
me.
fair.
I'm just like
It's
there's,
very
like, a
weird.
literal giant blob, like he just like.
And also,
blobbed
like when the
on
movie's
my
over, you're
muscle.
like, "What happened?" Like I don't get it.
Yeah.
It like it's very hard to understand, and it
Lost.
just yeah.
I
But-
recently watched a
I don't
movie
know, I
called
like
Your
it.
Name, which is an anime movie that's kind of recent, and it's like it's in a lot of people's like top fives, and it's like a sappy like love romance, and I was like almost in tears watching. Like that doesn't happen with me, but I was like, damn, this really hit. So if you need any good
yeah,
anime
we don't talk
movies to
about the
watch,
live action Ghost in the Shell.
All right, so
Oh,
we
no,
have
we
we
never
have
talk
next
about
week.
that.
There is an interim week, right? So we're going to be talking probably Star Wars next week
Yeah.
because we
It's
have
a
Bad
special
Batch.
guest.
Yeah, hopefully we're
Special
going to have Star Wars
Yeah.
only of YouTube and Instagram fame will be joining
Yes,
us
sir.
for the live, and we will do
Shout
some
out to
bad
Only.
some Bad Batch pre-show discussion because it'll be
3
when's the
days
first,
before.
3 days
Oh.
before the
Tuesday.
first episode. Yeah,
Tuesday.
Lavelle in the chat trying to start something. All new nerds. Comment who you think would win. Me, Levi, or Johnny?
Me.
I
Who's,
think- I
who's
think-
taking home?
I think
Who's taking
Dylan.
home the gold? You think I would win?
Yeah,
I don't know,
think-
man.
I think John.
I got
and
a little
take each other
pudgy in
out.
I
in
could
pandemic.
beat Dylan up.
No way.
How tall are you, Dylan? I know how tall John is.
6'1".
We need to
Yeah,
have like
that's all I
a
am.
celebrity
I'm
death
6'3",
match.
so I think
starring
John
all
definitely
nerds.
loses.
You're 6'3".
No.
Yeah,
I
Dang.
don't have to be tall. You don't have to be tall.
God,
though.
I was once the
Right.
tallest.
You guys even know that?
yeah, I'm the
God.
tallest only nerd.
Jesus.
Do you guys even know that?
You guys even
All right,
you don't
I
have to
probably
be
gotta head out,
tallest.
but
Yeah.
all right, guys. Yeah,
Um,
we're gonna wrap the stream up.
Wrap
Now.
it
thank you
But
everyone that
I
came.
can stay
Hustle
and talk
Mando,
forever.
Lavelle, Mandy.
Oh, I know
all
we
the-
can.
All the classic
Thank you
comers,
for the
David Yao.
returning cast. Oh no.
And thanks for
sorry.
coming over to All New
Batman.
Nerds, some of y'all. I know Hustle Mando,
Yes.
you're there every week. Coming,
Mandy.
Hustle
having
Mando,
an awesome
Sean is
chat.
here.
Guys, definitely go over to All New Nerds. They've been definitely upping their game
We got a lot of
recently.
big
Up
things.
with the game.
We want to see you guys to 1,000 subscribers as soon as possible.
We got a lot of big
We
things
hope.
coming up. We got a
Yeah,
lot of
dude, we
things
got
in the works.
real I we're not just saying that like it's genuine. Like we got big channels and like people that you probably know coming. So we're super excited. So.
we're kind of a big deal, bro.
No,
we're
I
kinda
know,
like
I know. I
the
just,
big you
I
thing.
no, I think I'm really excited for the future. So it's gonna be a lot.
I'm going to go get a haircut, so I will.
Okay.
see you
No,
guys.
don't you dare touch those
Bye.
beautiful locks,
I
Dylan.
know.
You
Don't-
get a buzz
They're
cut?
going. I'm
Disappointed.
sorry.
Buzz cut?
The
Yeah, I'll
90s
buzz
kids
it all
are
off.
No one's gonna
disappointed
get a
in all
buzz
of
cut.
you.
All right, well,
every
wait a
time
minute.
you
I gotta
cut your
hold on. I
hair.
gotta pull mine out now.
Oh yeah,
I
wait.
can't miss
Show,
this. I can't miss
show
Look at
and
Mike's
your
hair, everybody.
Mike has more hair than I do. y'all.
Did you guys know this?
Oh my God.
Look at
Mike
that.
is Jesus, actually.
Jeez.
What?
Look at that hair.
His hair's
Jesus.
longer than mine at present.
Look
And
at
I
this.
don't cut mine, so like
That,
for all those
that's
people that
crazy.
thought I was hiding
He
baldness
always
under the
has
beanie.
the beanie on. You guys
Yeah.
don't even know it.
It's
Yeah.
just to
I'm not gonna lie,
control
that-
this.
There's a
mess,
mane
man.
under there.
Yeah.
shocked.
Yeah.
All right, goodbye, people.
All right,
Bye,
guys,
Dylan.
we're gonna
Yeah,
call
today.
it. Bye, Dylan.
Yeah,
And we're gonna.
Oh,
I
next
know-
I
week.
love
next
you
week.
guys. I will see you all when I see you.
Yeah, next week I cannot wait because I know we've been talking Marvel and I can't wait to like really.
Oh,
get
somebody
into
wants a
Star Wars.
headbang. Hustle wants it.
Yeah,
in the Millennium
let's go. Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm excited to talk Star Wars though.
Oh, Lavelle, he literally is. I don't know if you know that, but Mike literally is a rock star.
He's a
Mike's
rock star.
multi instrumentalist, composer, producer. Like was
That's
in
right.
the band for years. Mike's a rock star.
All right.
right.
Okay,
Well-
guys. Have a good week. We will see you next week on Jedi Jive Live.
May the
Thank you for
Force
joining
be
us
with
as
you.
usual, everybody. Thank you for being here.
Can we clip that headbang?
Can you clip the head? Man? Let's do it.
We will do it. Later, guys.